I want you to compensate me with 1,000 taels of silver. 1,000 taels? Is Zhang crazy? 1,000 taels. Don't you even consider whether she is worth this price? Zhang Ruai smiled. Zhang, it is understandable that you want silver compensation, but 1,000 taels, you seem to have overestimated your worth. Shut up. You have no right to speak here? Zhang was about to point her finger at Zhang Rui's nose, but when she thought of the injury she had suffered, she put it down awkwardly. Zhang Ruoi, don't think that you can make the decision just because you are the boss here. The He family deceived me, so they should compensate me for the silver. I heard before that you forced yourself into the Dingwa Palace, didn't you? She had heard people talking about the second room a long time ago. In order to marry herself in, Zhang had spent a lot of effort to make He Ningen so obsessed that he didn't want to eat or drink, and he would not marry anyone else but her. Zhang heard this, and a flash of embarrassment flashed across her face. So what? If I had known his background earlier, I would not have married him even if I had become a nun. It's meaningless to say anything now. Pay me the silver and I want a divorce. Zhang Ruoi sneered. Let's not talk about whether we can afford 1,000 taels. Even if we can, you may not live to spend it. She pointed at Zhang's hand. Don't forget, it was just a little bit away from a death. Her words made Zhang feel like she was falling into an ice cellar. She had forgotten about this. At this moment, Zhao Junyi, with a big belly, walked in with his men. What's going on? I received a report that someone was killed here. When Zhao Junyi arrived, Zhang and Xiao Yanxin were so scared that they trembled all over. Xiao Yanxin looked out the window vaguely until she fell into a man's eyes. Looking at his cold eyes, Xiao Yanxin felt a chill all over his body. Sir, Zhang, that vicious woman, poisoned us and wanted to kill us. Fortunately, the boss saw through it, otherwise none of us would be able to escape. Wang Erju stood up and said loudly, Sir, you have to make the decision for us. Zhao Junyi frowned. Zhang, is this true? Zhang was trembling all over. The poisoning was witnessed by everyone, and she could not deny it. Since she could not live, she would have to take someone with her to die. Sir, it's unfair. She knelt and crawled to Zhao Junyi's feet. I was also instructed and deceived by someone. Oh? Instructed by whom? Zhang pointed at Xiao Yanxin, who was also kneeling on the ground with a pale face. It was her. She instructed me. My lord, I was deceived by someone. Xiao Yanxin knelt on the ground. Hearing Zhang's accusation, she shrank slightly and said with her head down, My lord, I did instruct her, but I did not let her use the deadly poison such as Gelsemium elegans. I gave her jade butterfly powder. She hated the He family and wanted to poison them to death. Zhang heard this and came up with a plan. You are talking nonsense. What you gave me was clearly Gelsemium elegans, and you said it was jade butterfly powder to deceive me. Zhang shouted, You little witch, what is your intention? Zhang Ruai smiled when she heard that. Zhang had managed to escape. Zhao Junyi looked at Zhang, and then at Xiao Yanxin. They both held different opinions. For a moment, he didn't know how to make a decision. Zhang Ruai stepped forward and said with a smile, Sir Zhao, no matter what kind of poison it is, there is solid evidence that these two people poisoned our family. I wonder how to judge them? Zhao Junyi said in a deep voice. According to the law, they should be executed. These two people actually committed crimes in his jurisdiction. They really didn't take him seriously at all. When she heard that she was going to be beheaded, Zhang was so scared that she fell to the ground. Sir, believe me, I really didn't give her the heartbreak grass. Xiao Yanxin couldn't support her body anymore and knelt on the ground crookedly. She poisoned the He family because she wanted to kill them. At this moment, Zhang Ruai walked up to her and asked in a low voice, Jade butterfly powder. Where did you get it? This jade butterfly powder is worth a fortune. If taken, it will cause unbearable abdominal pain, but if used to evenly apply on the face, it will make the skin on the face more tender and emit a jade-like luster. It is the beauty product that many noble ladies dream of. However, jade butterflies are hard to find, and it is difficult to buy them even with silver. Most of the jade butterfly powder is supplied to the ladies in the palace. Xiao Yanxin, a princess of a very humble origin, is not even qualified to enter the palace, so it is absolutely impossible for her to get the jade butterfly powder. Therefore, the jade butterfly powder must have come from someone in the palace, but as to why this poison that cannot kill people was used, she did not know. Yes, yes, it's mine, Xiao Yanxin said in a deep voice. I hid it before I was exiled. At this time, Hyuni stepped forward and said coldly, as far as I know, the money of the second house has always been managed by Zhang. Where did you get so much silver to buy the jade butterfly powder? Where did you buy it from? You should know that there is only one shop in the whole capital that sells this jade butterfly powder, and a small box costs 100 taels of silver. How can you afford it? Besides, the shopkeeper said that this year's jade butterfly powder has been sold out and will be available next year. How did you get it? Xiao Yanxin didn't expect Hyuni to know so much. She was speechless for a moment and didn't know how to answer. It seems that you can only tell the truth if you take them to the prison. Zhao Junyi said coldly. Come on, take them both away and interrogate them strictly. Yes. Several yamen runners came in and dragged Zhang and Xiao Yanxin away. Even from a distance, they could still clearly hear the two people shouting for injustice. Zhao Junyi looked at the frame of the house built in the yard, and a not-so-sincere smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect you to be so quick. The weather is getting colder and colder. If we don't build it here, we will be frozen to death. After Zhao Junyi left with his men, Shang Ruai did not feel happy about sending Zhang and Xiao Yanxin to jail. Instead, she felt vaguely uneasy, as if a huge conspiracy was gradually approaching her. Mom, how do you feel now? Are you feeling better? Qin was so frightened by the old princess vomiting blood that she couldn't recover. It's okay. I feel very relaxed and comfortable now. He Ziyuan stepped forward and asked worriedly, Mom, what happened to you just now? Could it be that you accidentally swallowed some of the poison that Zhang gave you? What Zhang gave you was gritty sacrifice. If I really took it, let alone a little, even a drop, my life would have been over long ago. She looked at Shang Ruai and smiled lovingly. It was Ruai. She took my pulse before dinner and said that I had serious congestion in my body. She developed a pill for me. After I took it, I became like this. Shang Ruai walked up to the old princess, took her pulse again, and said with a smile, the blocked area has been cleared. Next, just do daily maintenance. He Jinghun looked at her, a faint smile in his eyes. This young woman really surprised him again and again. She should have known about Zhang's poisoning long ago, but there was no evidence, so she designed such a plan to lure the snake out of its hole. Even the time when the old princess vomited blood and fainted was calculated so accurately. Unexpectedly, Qiao, the hidden stake, was also exposed. It can be said that he killed 2 birds with 1 stone. This strategy was very clever. He Ningen and his son left at some point. He Jinghe had not said a word since he knew his father's true identity. No matter how He Ningen shouted in the room, he ignored him. After a few days, when Shang Ruai lifted the straw again, the cabbage and leeks she planted had grown very tall. At this time, due to the cold weather, there were no fresh vegetables for sale in the town, and the green vegetables she planted had become a rarity. That night, Shang Ruai cut some leeks and made some leek and egg dumplings. Sister-in-law, what's that smell? Hyuni stepped forward and pinched her nose and said, Why does it smell so bad? This is leek. Have you never eaten it? Leek? Hyuni shook her head. Never eaten it. Qin also came over smelling the smell. Roy, this thing smells so strong. Is it edible? Of course. Shang Ruai said with a smile. You will know when the dumplings are steamed. At dinner time, everyone looked at the dumplings on the table and were reluctant to pick up their chopsticks. They could smell the smell of Shang Ruai's dumplings from a distance and couldn't believe that it was food for humans. Shang Ruai smiled, picked up a dumpling, and took a bite. The familiar fragrance filled her mouth. God knows how long she had been thinking about the smell. Seeing that she was eating so happily, He Jinghun looked at the dumplings in his bowl and picked up one and put it in his mouth. He was stunned by the novel taste. It was inexplicably delicious. Everyone in the He family was observing his expression and saw that he actually took the initiative to pick up the second dumpling and nodded while eating. Could it be that this thing was delicious? They put the dumplings into their mouths with half belief and half doubt, with a look of shock on their faces. This thing called leek is so delicious. Sister-in-law, it smells so good. He exclaimed. Sister-in-law, are you a god? You can make such a magical taste. There are many ways to cook leeks besides making dumplings. Zhang Ruai smiled and said, if you like it, I will make it for you later. Okay. He ate another dumpling and looked at her with admiration. She couldn't help but sigh that her brother was so lucky to marry a wife like her sister-in-law. She looked at He Jingheng with envy and then a little disgusted. Why did she feel that her brother was not worthy of her sister-in-law? The next day, Zhang Ruai gave the drawing she drew to Mr. Wu. What is this? Mr. Wu studied it for a long time but couldn't figure out what it was used for. This is the greenhouse I designed. Zhang Ruai smiled and said, with this, you can grow vegetables in winter. Oh? Mr. Wu looked at the drawing in his hand and saw that the greenhouse was surrounded by blue bricks, but the top was built with glazed tiles. The glazed tiles on the top allow light to shine in during the day. The temperature in the greenhouse is very high, and the vegetables inside will grow well under the light. At night, just cover these things with straw mats to keep warm, and these crops can grow well in winter. It was the first time that old Wu saw such a novel thing, and he was shocked. After listening to her story, old Wu nodded and couldn't help but admire. Miss Zhang is indeed not an ordinary person. She can come up with such a brilliant idea. I have lived for decades and have never heard of or seen such a thing. Zhang Ruai smiled and said nothing. It was just that the previous generation planted trees, and the next generation enjoyed the shade. Their house building was booming, but bad news came one after another from the capital. On this day, He Lingsheng was practicing calligraphy in the study. He was not satisfied with several pieces of calligraphy in a row, and he was very uneasy. Your Highness, news came from the north that Qiao Yanxin was imprisoned. What's the matter? He didn't stop and continued to write. He was quite satisfied with this calligraphy. It is said that she asked her mother-in-law Zhang to give the people in the Dingwang Palace the heartbreaking grass. The princess consort of Dingwang. Before he finished speaking, He Lingsheng's pen stopped, and the ink smudged the rice paper. The calligraphy was ruined on the last word. What happened to Zhang Ruai? He said angrily. Who asked that witch Qiao to give them the heartbreaking grass? Didn't I give her the jade butterfly powder? This. I don't know either. The man knelt on the ground, sweating coldly. Prince Ding's wife is fine. She was the one who discovered that Qiao Yanxin and Zhang had poisoned her and pulled them out. He Lingsheng clenched his fists. Investigate. Investigate for me. What happened? Yes. The man lowered his head and whispered. Then what about Qiao Yanxin? He Lingsheng narrowed his eyes slightly. There is no need to keep a disobedient person. Yes, I'll do it right away. The man was about to leave when He Lingsheng called him back. Let's find out what happened first. After the man left, he no longer had the mood to continue writing. He didn't expect that even a little Qiao would dare to play the trick of pretending to obey, but actually disobeying. It seemed that he was too kind on weekdays. At the same time, in Lanqing Palace, Bishi quickly walked to the side of concubine Zhao and said softly, Your Majesty, Zhang has been arrested, and Qiao Yanxin has also been arrested. What about the people in the Dingwa Palace? Bishi shook her head. Nothing happened to them. The concubine of the Shang family discovered that Zhang had poisoned the house. It's her again. Concubine Zhao threw the teacup on the table fiercely. Prime Minister Shang has really put a lot of effort into training a concubine. I think she is even more capable than the legitimate daughter. Your Majesty is right. I heard that the concubine of the Shang family not only knows a lot, but is also very good at using coquettish tricks. She even made He Jingheng dizzy. Haha, I didn't expect that a little concubine's life is so precious. Concubine Zhao sneered. If she were a legitimate daughter, I might really consider making her the prince's principal wife. Not only would she be capable, but she could also fulfill the prince's wish. But fate plays tricks on her. Concubine Zhao rubbed her forehead, and her head began to ache again. Where is the prince? Didn't he find anything? His Highness didn't notice our actions. He thought it was Qiao Yanxin who acted on her own and replaced the jade butterfly powder with heartbreak grass, and he is angry. Sheng'er is not experienced enough after all. As a prince, he actually handed such a thing to Qiao. He didn't even know the strength of his opponent. He was at a loss. Concubine Zhao sighed. Zhang is too useless. He can't even do such a small thing as poisoning, and he was caught. He is a good-for-nothing. However, after this incident, I want him to know what it means to stalk the cicada while the oriole is behind. Your Majesty is right. Bishi stood aside, thought for a long time, and finally spoke. Your Majesty, there is one more thing you need to know.
Tell me.
I also heard it from the people of the East Palace. I don't know whether it is true or not. She whispered, Your Highness gave them jade butterfly powder in order to frame the concubine of the Shang family for the poisoning, so that Zhao Junyi could sentence her to death. In this way, he could replace her in prison, bring her back from the place of exile, and raise her outside the palace, waiting for an opportunity to appoint her as a concubine in the future. Bishi's voice became smaller and smaller, because she saw that Concubine Zhao's face was getting gloomier. As soon as she finished speaking, Concubine Zhao picked up the teacup on the table and smashed it to the ground, breaking it into pieces. Bishi hurriedly knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, please calm down. I only heard it, don't take it seriously. Don't take it seriously? Concubine Zhao said angrily. If he hadn't ordered it personally, how could such rumors spread? You can find out, but there is no guarantee that other people will know it. She looked at Bishi and said in a deep voice, Check where the news leaked from. Leave no one behind. Yes, Your Majesty. After Bishi turned and left, Concubine Zhao said in a deep voice, Kill Zhang and Qiao. As soon as she finished speaking, a dark shadow nodded and left. Shang family's concubine, Shang Ruai. Concubine Zhao's eyes were fierce. I let you escape this time, but next time, I will never let you go. Shang Ruai suddenly sneezed, rubbed her nose, and pouted. She probably thought that her scumbag father was scolding her again. Sister-in-law, it's cold today. Wear more clothes to avoid catching a cold. Nothing. Shang Ruai looked at Song Fangji, suddenly took her hand to feel her pulse, and after a while, she smiled and said, You are pregnant.
What? Song Fangji was stunned.
Shang Ruai nodded. Yes, you heard it right. You are going to be a mother. Really? She touched her flat belly and said in disbelief. I'm going to be a mother? He Jingxi happened to pass by, and after hearing this, he quickly walked to Song Fangji. Sister-in-law, are you telling the truth? Shang Ruai looked at him speechlessly. If this child inherits her brains, I don't think he will be able to become the top scorer in the imperial examination. He Jingxi scratched his head and smiled embarrassedly. The news quickly spread throughout the He family. When the old princess heard about it, she couldn't stop smiling. Great. Our He family is finally going to have a new baby. She turned her gaze to He Jingheng and Shang Ruai and urged, And you too, hurry up. Your brother already has a successor, but you haven't made any progress yet. Don't think she can't see that these two people have never consummated their marriage. Shang Ruai just smiled and said nothing, and He Jingheng didn't say anything either. Hey, how great it would be if we were still as glorious as before. Now that this child is born, I don't know how much suffering we will have to endure. Lin wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes with a handkerchief. She was very sad. When she finished speaking, the smiles on everyone's faces faded a lot. Shang Ruai saw this and comforted her. Third aunt, our house will be completed soon, and it will be very comfortable to live in. Your dear grandson will be fine, don't worry. Lin nodded when she heard it. The current situation was what she dared not hope for. She had meat for every meal and a spacious and bright house. Although it was not as luxurious as the royal palace, it was already out of reach for the exiles. Qin said with some envy, Sister-in-law, don't cry. I envy you so much for your blessing. It was just getting dark when a shadow quietly came to Shang Ruai's room. He put his ear to the door and listened for a while, but there was no movement inside. At this moment, Shang Ruai's voice came from behind. Mom, what are you doing? Qin's steps were in a panic, and she almost fell down. Fortunately, He Jingheng was quick to hold her up. Mom, it's dark and you are not sleeping. What are you doing here?
What are you talking about?
Qin's voice was not only embarrassed but also slightly angry. Did you make Roy angry again?
What?
He Jingheng didn't react for a while. Did you make Roy angry? He Jingheng shook his head, no.
No?
Qin pointed at his nose. If not, why didn't Ruai want to consummate the marriage with you? Cough, cough, cough. Shang Ruai almost choked to death on her own saliva. Could such words be said so blatantly? Isn't it said that the ancients were very reserved? Especially the noble families, they were extremely careful in their wording. Why did her mother-in-law speak so harshly? Could it be that the customs of the world are really like this? A trace of panic flashed across He Jingheng's eyes, and he quickly covered it up, but this subtle expression did not escape Qin's eyes. Her heart sank, and she looked at He Jingheng in disbelief. Could it be that those rumors were true? Her son was really inhumane? Wouldn't their family be extinct? Thinking of this, Qin almost fainted. Mom, how are you? Shang Ruai stepped forward and helped her into the room. Qin was sitting on a low couch, her eyes full of despair. Shang Ruai guessed it almost right, but did not deny it. Instead, she comforted her. Mom, I have excellent medical skills and I will definitely cure him. Hearing this, Qin's eyes gradually became focused. She looked at Shang Ruai and said with concern, Good child, you have worked hard. It's your bad luck to meet my Jingheng.
Huh?
Shang Ruai was stunned. Why did this sound so awkward? After comforting Qin and sending her back to the room, He Jingheng looked at her with teasing in his eyes. Cure me? He smiled. I wonder how Dr. Shang is going to treat me? What disease is he going to cure? Shang Ruai looked at him. Of course I'm talking about your legs. Oh, it's the legs. He shook his head with some regret, looking quite sorry. What do you think? I thought it was the leg. He laughed. But it's really a pity. Knowing what he was talking about, Shang Ruai blushed, glanced at him, and cursed inwardly rogue. After that, she walked past him and left quickly. He Jingheng looked at her back with a slight curl of his lips. Yunqi, who was guarding a big tree not far away, looked at his master with a perverted look and almost fell from the tree. That person just now was the master, right? Yuntian murmured. The crown prince's wife scolded him, and he still laughed. What do you know? Yunqi glanced at him. You haven't had a woman before. You have? Yuntian rolled his eyes at him. He wanted to continue to laugh at him, but suddenly found that Yunqi didn't refute. He was shocked and almost shouted, You have. Yunqi continued to watch the situation in the yard, ignoring Yuntian, who was going crazy on the side. Are you still a good brother? Why didn't you tell me such a big thing as having a woman? It was as if to say, we agreed to be single together, but you secretly grew old with someone else. This made Yuntian, who had always been extremely naive, unable to accept it. No, we are together every day. When did you find someone? Seeing that Yunqi still didn't answer, he slapped him the head with his hand. Do you remember what I said? Yuntian really used force this time, and Yunqi's head was buzzing. He looked back at him angrily. Are you crazy? Dare to slap me, believe it or not, I will beat you? Yuntian was stunned. Seeing him like this, he probably didn't have any interest in him. But he lived and ate with him every day, so where did he find the time to find a woman?
That.
He patted Yunqi's shoulder. Good brother, tell me something. Who is your woman? Yunqi looked at him like a fool. What woman? Didn't you just admit that you have a woman? Yunqi rolled his eyes at him. Do you have donkey hair in your ears? When did I say that? Then I asked you just now, and you didn't deny it. Yuntian was a little overwhelmed. Did he just talk to himself there? Didn't he hear a word he said? At night, Shang Ruai's consciousness entered the space. Seeing that the crops had all matured, she was delighted. After harvesting all the grains, she replanted a new batch, and all the fruit seedlings planted before also bore fruit. The strawberries, blueberries, and cherry tomatoes hanging on them were very tempting. I picked a few and tasted them. They were so delicious. Maybe it was because they were watered with spiritual spring water. These fruits are 100 times more delicious than the fruits in my previous life. If I open a fruit shop, I will definitely make a lot of money. Transplanting these fruits to the greenhouse can ensure a continuous supply throughout the year. However, I just arrived here, and I am unfamiliar with the place. If I want to do business, I need to go to the town to take a good look. Early the next morning, old Wu came over happily. Ruai, go and see if there is anything you are not satisfied with. Shang Ruai was stunned when she heard this. It's already built? Old Wu nodded. Of course, old Xia and I are personally supervising the work. How could it be slow? Shang Ruai walked to the front of the newly built house, and the old princess and others were already waiting at the door. Grandma, why don't you go in? Of course they're waiting for you, the great contributor. Shang Ruai stopped, and old Wu pushed open the door, and a 3-entry courtyard came into view. Shang Ruai helped the old princess into the courtyard. Old Wu and old Xia designed the house completely according to her drawings. Looking at the transparent glazed windows, everyone couldn't help but sigh that this courtyard was no worse than the palace. The old princess sat on a chair that was no different from the one in the palace, and couldn't help but burst into tears. This chair is exactly the same as the one in the palace. Shang Ruai touched the tip of her nose. That day I went to the town to ask craftsmen to make furniture, and I happened to see a traveling merchant caravan pulling dozens of carts of things. I looked carefully and found that many of them were things from our house before, so I bought them. Everyone showed surprise on their faces when they heard this. I didn't expect there would be such a coincidence in the world. The old princess nodded. Maybe God thinks that our He family is wronged, so He favors us so much. Shang Ruai was secretly relieved when she saw that no one doubted it. Only He Jingheng, looking at Shang Ruai's little action of touching her nose, couldn't help laughing secretly. She didn't seem to notice that she would touch her nose every time she lied. Although he didn't know why the furniture of Dinghua Palace appeared here, he didn't want to delve into it. After getting along with her for this period of time, he had already discovered her differences, but her sincerity towards the He family was not fake at all. Shang Ruai walked outside and looked at the workers who had helped the He family during this period of time. Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Everyone has worked hard during this period of time." Many people looked at the house in front of them, and they were very excited. It was hard to imagine that such an exquisite courtyard was made by them. I said before that as long as everyone works hard, there will be rewards. Shang Ruai took out a tray, which was full of silver. The reward of 1 or 2 silver coins per person is regarded as a reward for everyone's hard work during this period of time. Everyone was delighted when they heard this. "Thank you, boss." Shang Ruai saw that the time was ripe and said with a smile, "As you can see, I have fenced off a large piece of land in front. I can't farm it myself. If anyone wants to stay and farm for me, the wages will be the same as now. Is anyone willing?" As soon as the voice fell, people's eyes showed surprise. 20 cents a day is already a very good income. Even in the town, it is difficult to earn so much. But if they help her work, what about her own apprentices? They still have to pay taxes to the court. Guessing their concerns, Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Don't worry about taxes. Lord Zhao said that if you can't pay the grain, you can use silver to pay it off." This way, everyone was completely relieved.
Me.
I, Wang Erju, am willing to follow the He family forever. He walked to the front and said with a smile, "Miss, do you think I can do it?" Shang Ruai smiled. "Of course I can. This Wang Erju is a man who knows how to repay kindness. He is a useful person." Most of the workers stayed. After all, there is no land to plant in the season, and there is no money to earn by staying at home. It is better to come to the He family to work, where they can have food, drink, and money. That night, the He family sat in the dining room, looking at the tidy room that they had not seen for a long time, and everyone's face was filled with smiles. "Boy, you have worked so hard these days." The old princess smiled and said, "If it weren't for you, we don't know what kind of life we would live, and it would be a question whether we could arrive here alive. Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Grandma, you are polite." Lin also had a smile on her face. "Now when the baby is born, I will be relieved." Hyuni sat beside her, smiling and said, "Sister-in-law is so amazing. Like a fairy. She made all these things happen." Shang Ruai's heart skipped a beat. She had to admit that what she said was very close to the truth. The next day, she went directly to the county town to buy servants. The workers she hired were all working outside and could not come into the house to serve. After a while, she entered the city, sat in the car, and opened the curtain, looking at the hustle and bustle outside, and the vendors on the stalls were shouting loudly. There were all kinds of shops on both sides of the road, and many customers were coming in and out, a prosperous scene. She found the matchmaker and explained her purpose. The matchmaker was happy to see business coming to her door and took her to a courtyard happily. "Miss, take a look. Is there anything you like?" Shang Ruai looked at the women standing in front of her with their eyes downcast. They were all scared like quails and did not dare to look up at her. Here, women used for buying and selling were not allowed to look up at the buyers, otherwise they would be whipped. At this moment, a familiar face came into view. "Peony? Why is she here?" The originally clever little girl now had a look of despair on her face, and the light in her eyes had completely disappeared. He looked at her hands, which were originally white, tender and delicate, but had become very rough, with some tiny cracks on them. Seeing that she had been keeping her head down, she walked to the matchmaker and whispered softly. The matchmaker understood and ordered people to remove Xiaoyao's name tag. Here, having the name tag removed means that the girl has been bought by the buyer. However, there was no smile on the faces of the bought girls. A few days ago, the madam of Tianxianjuan came to buy girls, but few of them survived. Thinking of the tragic death, they were trembling with fear. When Xiaorao heard that her name tag was removed, her face turned pale. Shang Ruai selected a few young women. Oh, the guest's vision is really first class. The girls he selected are all the best girls here. The matchmaker's face was full of smiles. Watching several people being taken away, Shang Ruai took the matchmaker aside and asked in a low voice, "Are there any who know Kung Fu?" The matchmaker was stunned, looked her up and down, and couldn't help wondering, how did she know that she had just got two maids who knew Kung Fu? But seeing that her expression seemed to be just asking, she said, "Yes, there are, but the money." Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Money is not a problem." "Okay, come with me, sir." The matchmaker smiled immediately. "Sir, you don't know. These two maids are not only good at Kung Fu, but also very good-looking, but their temperaments are a bit unruly. I just got them, and I don't have time to train them." She walked up the steps and said with a smile, "I wonder if the young lady is satisfied. Let me take a look first." Okay. Walking to the innermost room, there were two beautiful women standing inside. They were wearing iron chains and shackles on their feet, and they looked at the people coming in vigilantly. The older one protected the younger one behind him and said in a deep voice, "What are you going to do?" Upon hearing this, the matchmaker was furious. She walked forward and slapped her in the face. "Who gave you the courage to talk to a guest like that? When you come to me, you have to lie down if you're a tiger and coil up if you're a dragon. Besides, you signed the indenture to sell your bodies yourselves. Why are you still playing tricks on me?" The woman covered her face. Although she was unwilling in her eyes, she dared not say anything, but she tightened her hand to protect the woman behind her. The matchmaker just felt unsatisfied and raised her hand to hit them, but she heard Shang Ruai say calmly, "If you have something to say, just talk it out. Why are you hitting them?" Upon hearing this, the matchmaker withdrew her hand angrily. "I just want them to be more obedient, so that you can buy them back and train them." Shang Ruai ignored her, turned her head to look at the two of them and asked, "Why did you sign the indenture?" "My father and mother died suddenly, and we had no money to bury them, so we had no choice but to do this." "They bought you too with two coffins?" Shang Ruai glanced at the matchmaker. "You are so cruel." "Sir, we're also doing business. I have so many people to support, and these girls need food and drink, and I also need to make money. How much silver do you want? I'll buy both of them." The matchmaker's eyes lit up when she heard this, and she said with a smile, "Sir, you are really straightforward. In that case, 20 taels and these two girls will be yours." Shang Ruai snorted coldly. "Do you really take me for a fool? 2 coffin boards, at most 2 taels of silver, and you've made 10 times that in a blink of an eye. This business is really a sure win." The matchmaker's smile froze. "Then how much silver do you want to offer, sir?" 2 people, 5 taels. If you can sell it, then sell it. If you can't, forget it. You're not the only one selling people here." She turned and was about to leave. Seeing this, the matchmaker hurriedly stopped her. "Sir, don't be anxious. Everything can be negotiated. We can negotiate it." Shang Ruai turned around, with an impatient look on her face. "Are you going to sell it or not? I still have things to do. 10 taels, 10 taels of silver will be fine." The matchmaker's face was full of smiles. "These 2 girls are good-looking and clever. You will definitely not suffer a loss if you buy them back. 10 taels I can buy 4 people. Forget it, I don't think you really want to do this business. In that case, you can keep these 2 people for yourself." Hey, don't. The matchmaker thought for a while. 5 taels is 5 taels. These 2 people have been seen by several groups of people, and they all think that they are too bad-tempered, and no one is willing to buy them. Finally, someone offered a price, so the less the profit, the better. It's better than losing it. Shang Ruai took out the silver and gave it to her. "The indentures of these people are ready. Don't worry." The matchmaker looked at the silver in her hand and smiled with her eyes narrowed into slits. Everything was done. Since Shang Ruai bought more servants, the matchmaker also got a car to send the people she bought to the village. Shang Ruai asked everyone to wait in the yard. At first, when they heard that they were going to Xia village, their hearts were cold. After all, they all knew that Xia village was the most remote and poorest village in the whole Qingzhou. Not only that, most of the people living there were exiled prisoners. Why would people there buy them back? The result is self-evident. The scenery along the way became more and more desolate, and their hearts became more and more dead. Until they saw the house in front of them, they couldn't help but stand there in a daze. How could there be such a luxurious courtyard in this place? Shang Ruai got off the carriage, walked in front of everyone, smiled and said, "From today on, you will serve here. When you come to the He family, you must abide by the rules of the He family. I don't care where you served before or who you served. From now on, you must be loyal to the He family." Her sharp eyes swept across their faces one by one. "Once you are unfaithful, you will never be used again. Do you understand?"
Yes.
Xiaoyao looked at her in a daze. This was actually the second lady of the Xiangfu. Shang Ruai's eyes fell on her, and Xiaoyao hurriedly lowered her head. She kept Xiaoyao and the 2 maids who knew martial arts, and the others were distributed to other people in the He family.
Peony.
Hearing the second lady calling her name, Xiaoyao's shoulders shook, and she lowered her head and said weakly, "Second Mississippi. Why are you here?" Shang Ruai looked at her hands. "And your hands, how did they become like this?" Xiaoyao's nose was sour, and her eyes were red in an instant. "My dear second miss, after you got married, I returned to help in the kitchen. I accidentally knocked over the bird's nest I was delivering to Aunt Zhong that day. Aunt Zhong thought I was clumsy, so she punished me to wash clothes and required me to wash them by hand. My hands became like this now. Why was I sold?" She lowered her head and said softly, "Aunt Zhong said that I had ruined her favorite clothes, so she told the madam and sold me." Shang Ruai understood. What was the bird's nest knocked over and the clothes ruined? It was just an excuse to drive her out. Although her scumbag father was evil to the core, he always liked to do those hypocritical things, always saying that servants were also human beings, and they should not be punished or scolded at will, but there must be a reason. Shang Ruai wanted to ask him more than once. Servants are human beings, so she is not a human being? He was so tolerant of servants. Why did he ignore her, his own daughter? Later, she saw Shang Nian ordering a servant to beat a servant to death who broke a bowl and dish. She finally understood that her father was not tolerant to others, but used such a reputation to package himself. He obviously could not hold a boat in the stomach of a prime minister, but he insisted on letting others praise him loudly. He was extremely cold-hearted. If it was something he didn't like or that got in his way, he would want to kill that person. However, he had a smile on his face that was more sincere than anyone else. It was really terrible. From then on, she never asked for Xiangnian's love again, until she starved to death in her own small courtyard. If she hadn't traveled through time and space, if she hadn't wanted to marry for Shang Yufu, perhaps her body would not have been discovered until it decayed. You were the one who combed my hair on the day of my wedding. This is also the fate between you and me. In this case, please stay with me. Shang Ruai said lightly, I have only one requirement for you to stay with me, and that is loyalty. If you can't do this, you can leave. I can return your indenture to you as a reward for the beautiful bun you combed for me that day. Xiaoyao was stunned when she heard that she was willing to give her freedom. She was sold to the Prime Minister's mansion by her biological parents since she was a child, and she has never experienced what freedom is like. Now someone said that he was willing to return her indenture to her. How could she not be excited? She looked at Shang Ruai, her eyes gradually firm, and she knelt on the ground with her knees. I am willing to follow the second lady and never betray you. Have you thought it through? Peony looked at her and nodded. I've thought it over.
Okay.
She looked at the two sisters standing behind Xiaoyao. The same goes for you. I don't want disloyal people around me. If you want to leave, I will just consider it as fulfilling your filial piety. You can leave with the indenture. Will you really let us go? The older woman looked at her in disbelief. I do want 2 guards with high martial arts skills, but I will never force anyone. Then why did you buy us? Shang Ruai looked at the marks of chains on their feet and frowned. Whether it was signing a contract to sell their bodies or being selected by customers, it was all legal and reasonable in Tianshan. It was normal for wealthy families to buy and sell servants, but she didn't like seeing them chained and picked. I don't like seeing you locked up there. Shang Ruai's words startled the 2 women. They didn't expect it was because of this. There were more than 5 people who wanted to buy them these days. They had never seen such a look of compassion in anyone's eyes. As for the reason why they didn't buy them, it was either because the matchmaker asked for too high a price or because she felt that they were not respectful enough. She looked back at her sister, made up her mind, and knelt on the ground. I am Mingxue, and I am willing to stay with the young lady. Her sister behind her also knelt down hurriedly. I am Xuanmei, and I am willing to follow the young lady. Shang Ruai nodded and looked at the 3 people. Since you are willing to stay, I will not treat you unfairly. Thank you, young lady. When He Jinghen came back, he found that there were strange women in the yard and frowned. Who are you? Xiaorao saw He Jinghen and hurried forward. Hello, sir. We are the young lady's maids. Maid? Thinking of what she said in the morning that she was going to buy some servants, he said in a deep voice. Where is she? The young lady said to go to the greenhouse. He Jinghen turned and left. Seeing him walk away, Xiaoyao wiped the sweat from her forehead and let out a long breath. The aura of the Prince Ding was too scary. Every time he frowned, she felt that the sharp steel knife was 1 step closer to her neck. When He Jinghen came to the greenhouse, Shang Ruai was planting a plant he had never seen before in a field, and there were red fruits growing on it. A strand of hair fell on her face, and the warm sunlight fell on her body, giving her beautiful face a layer of gold. Her curled eyelashes fluttered, like 2 small brushes brushing on the tip of his heart, making him itchy. Just as he was about to step forward, he saw Wang Erju walk up to her and whispered something. Shang Ruai smiled, pointed to the plant in her hand, and said a few words. Wang Erju showed a look of understanding and turned to leave. He frowned slightly and walked forward, looking at Wang Erju's back as he left, his eyes dimmed. What were you talking about just now? Shang Ruai saw him coming and smiled. He is asking me about the things I need to pay attention to when growing strawberries. He Jinghen looked at the plant she was fiddling with. The red fruit on it was emitting an extremely rich aroma and couldn't help asking, is this thing called strawberry delicious? Shang Ruai heard this and picked a strawberry and put it in his mouth. Just try it and you'll know. The taste he had never tasted before poured into his mouth, and it was actually the most delicious thing he had ever tasted. Seeing that he seemed to be savoring the taste, Zhang Ruoyi handed him another one. These red ones are all ripe. I'll bring some back to the mansion later and let my grandmother and the others taste them, but I can't pick them all. I've been thinking about taking them to the county town to sell these days. Go to the county town to sell? Zhang Ruoyi nodded. I inquired when I was giving acupuncture to Zhao Junyi. There are very few rich families in our town. If you want to make money, you have to go to the county town. How do you go to the county town? Just rely on the 2 maids you bought, who only have mediocre skills? When He Jingheng saw the maids in the courtyard, he knew that 2 of them knew kung fu, but they were just fancy moves and were not worth mentioning in front of real masters. Zhang Ruoyi smiled and her eyes fell on him. I'm worried that I have no place to buy servants to look after the house. I wonder if the prince has any connections? Hearing this, He Jingheng's lips curled slightly. He knew that this woman had seen through his disguise, so he simply stopped acting in front of her. When did you find out? Found out what? Zhang Ruoyi turned around and said casually, Prince, don't make random guesses, I don't know anything. Seeing that she knew the truth and pretended to be confused, He Jingheng didn't force it anymore and said with a smile, Okay, the person who can look after the house will be delivered to you in the afternoon. Then thank you very much, Prince. He Jingheng looked at Strawberry and asked in confusion, Where did you find this seedling? Zhang Ruoyi did not stop her movements. We found it in the dense forest before, and then asked Wang Erju to bring people to dig it back. He Jingheng frowned, knowing that she was fooling him again. He had walked through this dense forest a long time ago. Where had he seen a plant that grew like this? Seeing that she was unwilling to tell the truth, he did not force her. Not long after, Ing Xue came to find her. Miss, a group of people came to the house, saying that they were the security guards you found. Zhang Ruoyi was delighted. She did not expect He Jingheng to move so quickly. She told Wang Erju and the others to continue, and followed Ing Xue back. At this moment, He Yuni came running over, and when she saw her, her eyes obviously lit up. Sister-in-law. What's wrong? Zhang Ruoyi said with a smile. Why are you running? Don't let Grandma and Mother see it, otherwise they will say that I led you astray. Sister-in-law, did you really grow that fruit called grass something? He Yuni smacked her lips. I didn't even get to eat a few, as Grandma put them all away. There are some in the greenhouse. She turned to Ing Xue and said, Go pick another basket. Thank you, sister-in-law. As soon as she finished speaking, Song Fengji also came over. Sister-in-law, the strawberries. Zhang Ruoyi smiled. I have someone send a basket to your yard a long time ago. Song Fengji was overjoyed when she heard this. She had no appetite in recent days and vomited everything she ate. But when she ate strawberries just now, miraculously, she did not. Not only that, she also had a big appetite and ate 2 pieces of dessert. Sister-in-law, you are partial to one and give so much to your third sister-in-law, but only give me a little. He Yuni pouted. How old are you? And you are actually competing for food with the fetus in your third sister-in-law's belly. The 3 of them returned to the mansion, talking and laughing. This scene was so dazzling to He Jingheng, who was far away.
Why?
Why did they live so happily? And he was like a rat crossing the street, unable to raise his head in the crowd. Now the whole Xia village knew that he had the blood of a lowly person. In Tianshan, prostitutes were the lowest class of people, and the children born by prostitutes were even lower class. This was undoubtedly a huge to him, who was once the high and mighty prince of a county. In addition, there was no money, and Zhang was arrested, leaving not a tael of silver in the family. His father was even more devastated. The injured part of his palm was already infected, but there was no money to treat it. He was really desperate and wanted to work for others to support his family, but the people who knew his background would not let him in at all, thinking that a child born by a would defile their family. There was no way out, so he set his sights on the He family again. This was the first time he came to the house that the He family had just built. Looking at the house that was no worse than the palace, he gritted his teeth and walked in. At this time in the main hall, Zhang Ruoyi had just assigned the guards that He Jingheng had found and heard the voice of a maid. Sir, you can't go in. Let me go back to the old lady first. At this time, He Jinghe's figure had appeared in front of everyone. He Jinghe looked at the room that was no different from the palace, and he was angry and annoyed. He came to the old lady and knelt on the ground with a plop. "Grandma, please save my father." The old princess frowned when she heard it, and the smile on her face disappeared. "Get up and talk. If Grandma doesn't agree, I won't get up." He Jinghe knelt there. Looking, he seemed unmoved. Shang Ruai saw the obvious impatience on the old princess's face and sneered. "Since you refuse to talk, just drag him out." She winked at the guards standing in the main hall, and two of them walked up aggressively and dragged him out without saying a word. He Jinghe didn't know any kung fu, and he didn't have enough food all day, so how could he be their opponent? He was picked up like a chicken. "Wait, wait, wait," He Jinghe shouted. I'll tell you, I'll tell you." Hearing this, Shang Ruai asked the guard to put him down. "Just tell me what you have to say." "Grandmother, my father has had a high fever for days. Maybe the wound that day got infected. I wanted to go to the town to ask a doctor, but I don't have any money. Can you give me some money for my father's treatment?" Hearing this, Lin, who was sitting aside, snorted coldly. "Your father deserves it. If he didn't want to be violent with his sister-in-law, who would hurt him? It's normal for him to have suppuration and infection now. Third aunt, how can you say that about my father? He is your brother after all. Oh, don't say that when you go out. I don't want others to know that I have a brother who was born to A and can't even raise my head in a crowd." "You." He Jinghe's chest heaved violently. Now, when he heard the three words "son of A," his head was on the ground. Veins kept throbbing. Shang Ruai sat aside without saying a word. The old princess said calmly, "Didn't I give you 10 taels of silver on the day of the division of the family? It is enough for ordinary people to save and live frugally for 2 years. How come you have used it up so quickly?" He Jinghe's face froze when he heard it. How could he dare to say that he secretly took the money to the town to gamble and lost it? He thought he could win some silver back, but unexpectedly, not only did he not get the silver, but he also lost his capital. Shang Ruai smiled. "I remember when I went to the town before, I saw you go into a gambling house. I wonder if you spent all the silver there?" He Jinghe's face turned pale. He didn't expect that she would find out. Seeing that He Jinghe didn't say a word, everyone knew that Shang Ruai had guessed it. Lin looked down on her even more. "With your character, you still want to come here to cheat money? Grandma, it's not like that. I really want to treat my father's illness, Grandma." He Jinghe said loudly, "Grandma, this money is considered as a loan from you. I will definitely return it to you in the future." He set his eyes on Shang Ruai. He knew that she was the head of the He family now, and the money must be in her hands. "Sister-in-law, I was deceived by my mother and that witch Qiao before, so I misunderstood you. I really know I was wrong." Shang Ruai looked at the cold light in his eyes and sneered. "You should act like you are asking for help from others. You want this silver like this, and you are cursing in your heart. Why should I lend you the silver?" Seeing that she was not moved at all and didn't want to pretend anymore, He Jinghe simply stood up and looked at them coldly. "I just ask you, will you lend me this silver today? Why don't you pretend?" Shang Ruai rolled her eyes at him. "No." Okay. You don't want to lend it, right?" He looked at everyone, his eyes full of hatred. "I will definitely remember what happened today. Sooner or later, I will make you regret it." After that, He Jinghe turned and left. Lin looked at his back and sneered. "You unlearned. Dare to act wild here." The old princess sighed. What a sin. When He Jinghe returned home, he saw his father lying on the ground rummaging through something. He was lying by the door and saw He Ningen taking out a dirty paper bag from under the low couch. When he opened it, he found some jewelry and silver. He Ningen had always known that Zhang had hidden silver here, but he didn't expect it to be quite a lot. He wanted to take out a few taels of silver from it and go to the town to find a doctor for treatment. At this moment, He Jinghe walked in and said angrily, "Dad, there is obviously silver at home. Why didn't you tell me?" He Ningen paused, looked at He Jinghe and said, "Dad just found it too." How could He Jinghe believe it? He walked forward, snatched the paper bag, looked at the silver inside, and curled his lips. "I thought there were a lot of them, but they are just worthless things." He stuffed the paper bag into his arms and turned to leave. How could He Ningen let him take the silver? He quickly grabbed him. Son, we can't give you all the silver. You take 5 taels first, no, 10 taels, and we'll keep the rest at home. He Ningen knew his son's character very well. If you give him this money, he will definitely use it to gamble. Seeing him pulling his sleeves to let go, He Jingha immediately got angry. Thinking of the humiliation he suffered in the He family, he was even more angry. He threw He Ningen to the ground and rushed out without looking back. He Ningen's head hit the corner of the low couch directly, bleeding, and he died soon. He Jingha came to Jinshan. He had told himself that he would not go to the casino and would just get some medicine and go back. But when he passed by the gambling house, his hands were itching. The servant saw him and curled his lips. Poor beggar, what are you looking at? Poor beggar? He Jingha looked at him angrily. Who are you calling a poor beggar? Today, I will show you what it means to keep your wealth private. He walked into the casino with 5 taels of silver in his hand. Seeing this, the servant hurriedly invited him in respectfully. Master, I am blind and do not recognize the great man. Please do not be offended. Humph. He Jingha's vanity was satisfied as never before, and he strode into the casino. He Jingha originally just wanted to have a good time with 5 taels of silver, but he did not expect to lose all his money with only 2 books. How could he accept this? He took out another 5 taels of silver and continued to raise the bet. After a while, when he put his hand into his arms to take something to use as compensation, he found that there was nothing in the paper bag in his arms. His heart skipped a beat, and he was dumbfounded. He actually lost it all? In an instant, cold sweat broke out on his head. The people in the casino saw that his eyes were straight from losing money, and they knew that the money on him had been squeezed dry. So they drove him out without mercy. When he was thrown out of the casino, it was already dark. He thought about how He Ningen seemed to be pushed to the ground by him when he left, and he was a little worried. Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the sky, and after a flash of thunder and lightning, it suddenly started to rain heavily. He cursed in his heart and ran home quickly. When he walked to the door, he remembered the silver that He Ningen had put into his waist bag before and secretly thought about how to cheat it into his hands. She would definitely win back all the silver she lost in the casino. He pushed the door open and found that there was no candle in the house. He said in a deep voice, Dad, your hands are broken, so you can't even light a candle? No one answered in the house. He Jingha sneered. Do you still think you are a prince? I tell you, you only have me as your son now. If you make me angry, no one will take care of you in the future. He walked into the house, but his feet were suddenly tripped by something, and he almost fell to the ground. He was about to curse when he suddenly touched a cold body. At this moment, a flash of lightning flashed, and He Jingha finally saw clearly what almost tripped him. It was He Ningen, who was looking at him with his eyes wide open. He Jingha was so scared that he sat on the ground, and his hand happened to press on the blood flowing all over the ground. Dad. He Jingha trembled and put his hand under He Ningen's nose. Dead. He Ningen is dead. Die, with eyes open. He Jingha looked at He Ningen's cold body for a long time. He finally came to his senses. He kept groping around He Ningen with his hands and finally found 5 taels of silver in his arms. He Jingha knelt beside his body and kowtowed twice. Dad, if you want to blame someone, blame the He family. If they gave me the silver today, I wouldn't fight with you for the dozens of taels. Then he carried his body, dragged him to the cliff in the north of the village, and threw him down. He looked at the body rolling down, and his heart ached for a moment. But compared to letting himself survive, his father's death was also valuable. Dad, don't blame your son. If you want to blame someone, blame Shang Ruai and He Jingha. They killed you, especially Shang Ruai. Your son will definitely help you get revenge. Sooner or later, I will make them pay with blood. The cliff is more than 30 meters long. He Ningen was thrown down from it and fell into the mud in a prone position. His body was constantly washed by the rain, but his eyes were still wide open. He Jingha was scared and ran home. When he got home, he lit a candle and saw the dried blood on the ground. He was so scared that he almost shouted out loud. He went to the outside tank, picked up a large bucket of water, and scrubbed the ground clean. After doing all this, it was already dawn. He shivered and nestled in the corner. His eyes kept glancing at the place where Ningen had been lying. It was not until the sun shone in that he dared to move his already stiff body. At this moment, a bang sound came from the yard, which scared him. After hiding in the house for a long time, he dared to stick his head out. It turned out to be a stone. He walked forward and picked up the stone, and a piece of paper fell down. He picked it up in confusion, and when he saw the line of small words on it, his pupils suddenly contracted. "I know everything you did." These words made his whole body tremble uncontrollably. Who? Who? He rushed out of the yard and saw the empty streets outside. A huge panic enveloped him. Shang Ruai came to the greenhouse early in the morning. She planned to pick some strawberries and send them to the city to see if there was a market for them. Ing Xue and Xiaoyao followed her, and Xuanmei was in charge of guarding the yard. The driver was specially found for her by He Jingheng. His name was Ah Cheng. He looked rather thin, not as strong as those guards. But his steps were very light, and he was obviously a person who practiced internal skills. Shang Ruai and his friends came to the county town. It was as lively as before, but the weather was getting colder, and there were fewer people selling vegetables and fruits on the street. The carriage stopped in front of a restaurant called Tianxiangju. She had previously inquired that this was the largest restaurant in the county, and the price of the dishes was more than twice that of other restaurants. People who came here to dine were either rich or noble. The owner of Tianxiangju was a woman named Qian Yang. This restaurant was opened with her husband. 10 years ago, her husband died of illness, and she ran it herself. At first, Tianxiangju was just one of the many restaurants in the county town, and it was not famous. Now it has become the best restaurant here. Shang Ruai felt that Qian Yang must be an extraordinary person. Xiaoyao and Ing Xue each carried a basket of strawberries and followed Shang Ruai in. She sat in the lobby on the first floor, ordered a few signature dishes, and then patiently drank tea and waited for business to come. You know, strawberries have never appeared in Tianshan. Soon, the aroma of strawberries spread throughout the lobby, and everyone who came to dine would set their eyes on their table, or to be more precise, on the strawberries. At this time, a man came over with a decent smile on his face. He first bowed politely and asked with a smile, "Excuse me, young lady, I want to ask, what is in your basket?" "Strawberries." Shang Ruai saw his confusion and explained with a smile, "This is a kind of fruit." When the guests in the lobby on the first floor heard that it was edible, they were all excited. They gathered around to find out. The sound on the first floor quickly attracted the attention of the diners upstairs, and the aroma of strawberries also drifted over. "What's that smell?" A man in blue asked in a low voice. "Sir, the first floor is carrying 2 baskets of fruit. It's the aroma of that fruit," the attendant guard said. "It's so special." He put down his chopsticks, walked to the railing, and looked down. He had never seen the bright red fruit before. At this time, someone on the first floor had already offered to buy the strawberries. "Girl, I'll give you 10 taels. Please sell these strawberries to me." "I'll give you 15 taels." "I'll give you 20 taels." For a moment, the restaurant turned into an auction, and the diners competed to bid for the 2 baskets of fruit. "Interesting." The man in blue turned to the guard beside him and said, "Let Qian Yang take the girl to the private room. She knows how to do the rest." "Yes." The price downstairs has been raised to 40 taels. Shang Ruai couldn't help but be shocked. Although this is a town, it is located in the border area. How can there be so many rich people? "Miss, what price do you want to sell this fruit? Give me a straight answer." A fat and big-eared man in silk said impatiently, "I'm sweating all over." Shang Ruai smiled. "Of course these strawberries are for sale. As for the price." Before she finished speaking, she heard a woman's voice coming over. "Oh, my little ancestor, why didn't you tell your sister when you came?" A charming woman in red came over, followed by 4 followers. Shang Ruai was a little confused. She didn't seem to know this beautiful woman. "I am really sorry, ladies and gentlemen. This young lady is my mother Qian's honored guest today. It turned out that she was Qian's mother. When everyone saw that Qian's mother was going to take Shang Ruai away, they all looked unhappy. No one was a fool. If she took Shang Ruai away, they would not be able to buy those fruits. It is our restaurant's fault for disturbing everyone's meal. So, we will send a plate of our Tangxiangju's signature dish to each table, as my mother Qian's apology to everyone. After hearing her say this, they were willing to give up. Shang Ruai looked at Qian's mother and nodded secretly in her heart. She was worthy of being the shopkeeper of Tangxiangju, and she did things flawlessly. Please come in,
Sister.
Following Qian's mother all the way to the room on the second floor, she smiled and poured a cup of tea for Shang Ruai, her eyes drifting towards the basket on the table. What's your surname, young lady? Shang Ruai smiled. Wasn't the shopkeeper very familiar with me just now? How come he doesn't even know my last name? Qian Yang smiled, without any embarrassment on her face. This is just a stopgap measure.
Shang Ruai. Miss Ruai.
Qian Yang sat next to her, her fingers curled slightly, with a smile on her face. The surname Shang is not common. I wonder which Shang it is? Seeing that she cared so much about the surname, Shang Ruai had a vague premonition in her heart. Maybe Shang Nian, the scumbag father, owed someone some debt outside. The surname Shang is indeed not common. Sister Qian Yang should know the Prime Minister Shang Nian of the current dynasty. It's that surname. Shang Ruai stared at Qian Yang closely and saw that her expression was stiff for a moment, and she knew that she guessed right. What is the relationship between that girl and Prime Minister Shang? Shang Ruai snorted coldly. What relationship? Of course, it's an enemy relationship. I am his concubine's daughter. Qian Yang's eyes darkened instantly. Just as she was about to get up to see the guest off, she saw Shang Ruai put down the teacup and said leisurely, "But he and his legitimate wife killed my mother, and he designed me to be exiled. If we really want to talk about the relationship between us, it is not an exaggeration to say that we are enemies." Qian Yang was stunned for a moment when she heard this. Are you the second lady of the Xiangfu who married the Prince of Dingwang? Manager Qian is well informed. In our line of work, we naturally have to listen and see more. Qian Yang's attitude returned to what it was just now, and she said with a smile, "It is fate that we can meet each other thousands of miles away. Sister, I am so arrogant to call you Sister Ruai. How about we talk about a business?" Shang Ruai smiled. "Sister, please go ahead. I think your fruit is good.
How about selling it to you?
It's just some fruit, sister, and I hit it off at first sight. If you like it, I will give it to you. I have more in my house." When Qian Yang heard this, her eyes became more and more warm. "Did you grow this fruit?" Shang Ruai nodded. "This fruit is called strawberry. It is not only sweet, but most importantly, it is very good for the body and has the effect of prolonging life." Oh. Qian Yang looked at the two baskets of fruit, with a little doubt in her eyes. It was just a fruit. How could it prolong life? "Sister, why don't you try a few?" They were raised in the space with spiritual spring water, so they naturally have the effect of prolonging life. Qian Yang picked up a strawberry and put it in her mouth. The sweet taste was something she had never tasted before. Even if it didn't have the so-called effect of prolonging life, this fruit could definitely be sold at a high price. She ate two more in succession. Just when she was about to reach out to take another one, she suddenly found that her waist, which was still sore when she woke up in the morning, didn't feel anything at all.
This.
Is it really, as she said, that it has the effect of prolonging life? How is it? Shang Ruai saw her expression and knew that the strawberry business was done with her. It is indeed very good. Qian Yang's expression when she looked at Shang Ruai was completely different from before. "How many strawberries do you have in your house, sister?" "I will take them all." "Sister, you don't know, I have strawberries all year round." Qian Yang's eyes lit up when she heard this. "Sister, what you mean is, of course you want to do long-term business with you, sister. It seems that your vision is narrow." Qian Yang smiled and said, "I wonder what price you want to sell these strawberries to me? 20 taels a basket, 15 baskets a day. That is 300 taels of silver." Hearing this, Qian Yang nodded. "Okay. Sister, I am also a straightforward person. In this case, I will send my servants to get 15 baskets a day. She took out 50 taels of silver and handed them to her. These 2 baskets of strawberries. You said I would give them to you, so don't be polite. Shang Ruai stood up, took out a note from her arms and put it on the table. Here is my address. You can send someone to get it tomorrow. What else did Qian Yang not understand after seeing this? She had already decided to cooperate with her a long time ago, and the scene of scrambling for fruits on the first floor was also within her calculations. Perhaps even if the diners did not ask the price of the strawberries out of face, she would hire someone to act out the scene. Qian Yang's guess was correct. Shang Ruai did make this preparation. On the way back, Ingxue asked in confusion, Miss, so many people come to ask for our strawberries. Why don't we sell them directly? This way we can make more money. Shang Ruai smiled. We are new here. We can't even tell the directions of this county. How can we do business here? In this county, the people who really have money to buy strawberries are basically the diners of Tianxiangju. This is the fastest way for us to open up the strawberry market. Ingxue nodded, not quite understanding. As soon as I entered the village, I saw a team of officials asking questions from house to house. At this moment, Ah Ching stopped the carriage, and the voice of an official sounded. Open the door, everyone in the car get out. Sir, what's the matter? Ah Chung smiled and said, We are all good people. I told you to open it, so open it. Why are you talking so much nonsense? The official kicked him angrily. Hurry up. At this time, Ingxue opened the door under Shang Ruai's instructions. Seeing that there were only 3 women in the car, the official did not make it difficult, but only asked if they had seen He Ningan recently. He Ningan? Isn't he in the village? You just need to answer my questions. Why do you have so many questions? Seeing that they didn't seem to be lying, he let them go. When they returned to the He family, Shang Ruai realized that He Ningan was missing. What do you mean missing? Did he run away? Shang Ruai said with a frown. If you wanted to escape, why didn't you escape earlier? Why did you have to wait so long in exile to escape? He Yuni thought for a moment. Maybe it's because he knew his life experience and couldn't accept it for a while, or he was afraid of being laughed at by the people around him, so he ran away, or... She didn't say the rest of the words, but everyone knew what she meant. Lin shook her head. Your second uncle is not a thin-skinned person. As long as he can survive, do you think he cares about being laughed at? The old princess didn't say anything, but just frowned and sat in the main seat. At this moment, a servant ran over. Old lady, the official asks you to go over. Do you know what happened? It is said that the body of the second master, he was found under the cliff in the north. Since He Jinghe fainted, the official wants you to confirm whether it is the second master. Everyone was shocked when they heard it. Under the cliff? Could it be that he really jumped off the cliff? The old princess was helped to stand up by Aunt Li and walked out. Everyone in the He family followed behind. When they got to the bottom of the cliff, the officials covered their noses and stood far away from the corpse on the ground. The He family walked forward, and Shang Ruai walked forward and found that the corpse on the ground had been swollen. The whole body had rotted and smelled. Sister-in-law, come back soon. It was the first time that He Yuni saw a dead person, and it was too scary for her to die in such a posture. She must have nightmares at night. Seeing Shang Ruai actually walking forward, she was frightened and screamed. The official saw her coming and frowned. What are you doing? Sir, my family dare not come to see. I want to see if it is my second uncle. At this time, a middle-aged man wearing a county magistrate's outer robe came over, looked at Shang Ruai and said, But is it the daughter-in-law of the He family's eldest house?
Yes.
Shang Ruai found that after she said this, the man's eyes were softer than before. How dare you see the county magistrate and not salute? The yamen runner next to him shouted loudly. No thanks, no thanks. He didn't dare to accept her gift, or the prince would skin him alive. What's the matter? County Magistrate Zhang Zhen said in a low voice. After all, he heard from the prince that his wife was not very courageous, so he should not scare her again. Nothing, just come to find out if it's my second uncle. Her eyes passed over him and fell on He Ningan's body again. Upon seeing this, County Magistrate Zhang hurriedly asked someone to cover the body, so as not to scare the prince's young wife. Otherwise the prince would tear him apart. There's nothing to see. It's basically confirmed to be He Ningen. His son fainted when he saw him. He pointed to He Jinghe, who was still unconscious next to him, and said, I've never seen such a useless person who was scared like this by the body of his own father. Then, do you know how he died? County Magistrate Zhang looked up and said in a deep voice, Most likely he fell from the cliff. His body was obviously soaked in water. Most likely he fell down on the rainy day. As soon as the words fell, the soldiers came over with an old man. Sir, the coroner is here. I'm here to see you, sir. Go and have a look. Zhang County Magistrate waved his hand and asked someone to take him over. As the curtain was lifted, He Ningen's body was exposed to everyone again. Before Zhang Ruai could look at it, Zhang County Magistrate stood in front of her. Go back and wait for news. He pointed at He Jinghe, who fainted on the ground. And this waste, please take him away with you. Zhang Ruai had no choice but to agree. The moment she turned around, the wound on the back of He Ningen's head fell clearly into her eyes. The old princess tightly grasped the handkerchief in her hand. Although she didn't like He Ningen, she never thought of letting him die. He had called her mother for so many years, and she had some feelings for him. Now his body was placed in front of her, and it was inevitable that she felt a little sad. Others didn't feel that sad, but they were a little scared when they saw the body, especially the way He Ningen opened his eyes, which was really scary. Fortunately, Song Fangji didn't come, otherwise she would have been scared to the point of having a miscarriage. Zhang Ruai winked, followed by the attendants who came with her and carried the unconscious He Jinghe away. Grandma, please go back first. I'll wait here, and I'll tell you the first time I have any news.
Zhang Ruai said softly.
Where's Jinghe? Qin said anxiously. Why haven't I seen him? Zhang Ruai shook her head. She went to the county town early in the morning, and was brought here since she came back. She didn't know where He Jinghe went. Jinghe won't be in trouble too. Qin's voice was a little trembling.
No.
With He Jinghe's skills, who could touch him? At this time, He Jinghe was in a room on the 3rd floor of Tianxiangju. Prince, there is nothing I can do about your leg. An old man in white said in a low voice, and sighed. I can try to reconnect broken bones, but I can't help with lameness caused by broken tendons. He Jinghe smiled, with an indifferent smile on his face. It doesn't matter. I came here today just to let you take a look. I didn't have any hope. The old man squatted down, pinched his leg that was originally broken and then reconnected by Zhang Ruai, and nodded continuously. Excuse me, Prince, which miracle doctor healed this leg? He Jinghe raised his eyebrows. How do you know it was done by a miracle doctor? Prince's leg was broken twice in a row. Even I can't guarantee that it can be restored to its original state, not to mention that it is impossible in such a short time. So the one who can make the prince recover so quickly must be a miracle doctor. He Jinghe knew that Zhang Ruai's medical skills were good, but he didn't expect it to be so good. At this time, the man in blue lying on the couch smiled and said, I have never heard such a high evaluation of him from Dr. Jiang. Jinghe, you are really a hidden talent. Prince, could you introduce this miracle doctor to me? Dr. Jiang bowed. He Jinghe smiled. Let me ask her if she is willing. Hearing this, the man in blue looked at He Jinghe. I didn't realize that you would actually ask for other people's opinions. He asked slyly, This miracle doctor can't be a woman. He Jinghe looked at him coldly. Are you free? Seeing his look, the man in blue knew that he had guessed right. Jinghe, I want to see that miracle doctor, too. He Jinghe waved his hand, and the water cup on the table suddenly flew towards the man in blue. The man in blue quickly took out his folding fan to block it and poured all the water in the cup onto his robe. He said angrily, He Jinghe, this is my new robe, but it's made of cloud brocade worth 1,000 gold coins. He Jinghe sneered, Choose one between your head and your clothes. The man in blue smacked his lips. So, let the clothes be ruined. It was better than being beaten by this guy. He had a headache when he thought of the times when he was beaten by He Jinghe and couldn't tell east from west and south from north. When he was young, everyone said that He Jingheng was the best among the younger generation, but he didn't believe it. Not only did he get beaten by him on the ground every time, but he was completely convinced before he even had to put in any effort. Since then, he has been following He Jingheng. You have to compensate me for this robe. 3,000 taels, I don't want more from you. He Jingheng looked at the robe on his body. I'm an exiled prisoner. Where can I get silver? The man in blue was so angry that he gritted his teeth. You don't have silver? Are you kidding me? Without silver, where do all the food and supplies for so many soldiers come from? Did it fall from the sky? It is no exaggeration to say that the daily consumption of the military camp is at least several thousand taels. That's right. Now you have fallen to such a state that you have to rely on a woman for support. What does the impermanence of life mean? Yes, if you were not with me, at least you would still have a woman to support you. Unlike you, you chase after others and beg them, but they won't even look at you. Mo Yuyan's words instantly ignited the anger that he had just suppressed. He Jingheng, since I see that you are disabled, I won't argue with you. Otherwise, what else? He Jingheng smiled and said, Su Zimo, for all these years, you can't win, so why are you trying to save face for yourself all day long? The man in blue was Su Zimo, the legitimate son of Marquis Jianan. At this time, Yuntian walked in. Prince He Ningen is dead. He Jingheng's eyes were stern. How did he die? It's not clear yet. The body was found under the north cliff. The wounds on the body seemed to be caused when he fell off the cliff. The coroner initially determined that he died from falling off the cliff. He Jingheng frowned. How could He Ningen fall off the cliff? What was he doing on the north cliff? Yuntian thought for a while, then hesitantly said, There is one more thing, that is the crown prince's consort. What's wrong with her? Yuntian thought for a while and said, The crown prince's consort told Magistrate Zhang that the coroner's inference was wrong. He did not die from falling off the cliff, but was killed and thrown off the cliff. The tea that Su Zimo had just taken a drink sprayed out. What? He looked at He Jingheng in shock. Jingheng, did you marry a coroner? He Jingheng curled the corners of his lips slightly. Go home. TSK, TSK, TSK. How ruthless. I came all the way from the capital to ask Dr. Jiang to treat your legs, and not only did I ruin my clothes, but you didn't even invite me to your house to sit down. Su Zimo's eyes turned and he said with a smile, Jingheng, I haven't seen my aunt for a long time, and I miss her very much. Why don't I go with you to visit her today? I just got 2 baskets of good things. He sent a servant to call Qian Yang. Qian Yang came in gracefully, with strawberries in her hand. When she saw that the person her master entertained was actually He Jingheng, her face froze for a moment. Jingheng, this is it. Do you know what this is called? I haven't even seen it, and you, a rough man who spends all day in the military camp, must have never heard of it. This is called
Strawberry.
Before he could finish, He Jingheng interrupted him. How do you know? At this time, Qian Yang smiled awkwardly. Master, this strawberry is really sent by the prince's wife.
What?
Su Zimo looked at He Jingheng in shock. That beautiful woman turned out to be Shang Yan's concubine? What kind of luck did He Jingheng have? My mother eats this strawberry every day, so you don't have to worry about it. After saying that, she left with Yuntian. He really wanted to know how this little woman judged that He Ningen did not die from falling off the cliff. At this time, Shang Ruai was standing in front of Magistrate Zhang. Really? Magistrate Zhang's expression was cold, and his scrutinizing eyes fell on the coroner who was wiping his sweat next to him. What do you say? My lord, the injury on the deceased's head was most likely caused by falling off the cliff. Indeed, it is normal to get a head injury after falling from such a high place. Magistrate Zhang nodded after hearing this. What about the corpse spots? Shang Ruai's eyes were cold, and she looked at the coroner and said, Wounds can lie, but corpse spots can't lie.
Corpse spots.
The coroner hesitated for a long time and couldn't make any sense. The livor mortis on the body is concentrated on the back, which means that the deceased was lying on his back when he died. In addition, the weather is cold now, and once the livor mortis is formed, it is difficult to transfer or fade. She said coldly, when the body was found, it was lying on the ground. If, as you said, he fell to death, then the livor mortis should be concentrated in front of the body, she said coldly. Could it be that he turned himself over again after a long time of death? The coroner was speechless and trembling all over. Hearing this, County Magistrate Zhang said angrily, "How dare you? How dare you deceive me?" The coroner knelt down on the ground with a plop. "My lord, I am wronged. I was not clear-headed today, and was negligent for a while. Please give me a chance." County Magistrate Zhang snorted coldly. "No need, since the cause of death has been found. I will not bother the coroner to check again, but I have many questions, and I hope you can answer them well." After speaking, two officials stepped forward and dragged him away. "Sir, please spare my life. I am innocent. Sir, please look carefully." The coroner was dragged away, and County Magistrate Zhang smiled and bowed to Shang Ruoi, saying, "Thank you, madam." Madam? This title made her a little uncomfortable for a while. "You're welcome, sir. Just call me Shang Ruoi." County Magistrate Zhang smiled and said, "I didn't expect that you know a little about coroners and autopsies. How could this be the extremely timid and weak madam that the prince mentioned? Is there something wrong with the prince's eyes?"
Or,
He couldn't help but have a bold guess. Could it be that the madam that the prince mentioned is not the one in front of him? Hiss. "I'd just like to read some books on this subject, and I didn't expect to use it." Shang Ruoi laughed.
it was just an autopsy.
As an agent, she not only had to learn how to kill, but also had to learn to understand different ways of dying. For this reason, she even took further anatomy courses and became the most proud disciple of the anatomy professor. If it is true, as you said, that He Ningen was thrown down, then this matter will be troublesome. Just then, a servant came over and whispered a few words in his ear, and County Magistrate Zhang's face suddenly darkened. Shang Ruoi saw this and said tactfully, "Since the Lord has something to do, I will take my leave." After she left, County Magistrate Zhang said coldly, "What happened?" "I don't know." On the way to him back, he was found to have suddenly lost his breath. When things developed to this point, even a fool would know that there must be some conspiracy. Investigate. Investigate for me. When Shang Ruoi returned to the mansion, He Jingheng had already returned, and Qin was wiping tears beside him. He Jingheng's eyes were full of helplessness. "Look at you. You're so old, but you don't even tell your family before you go out? Do you know how worried Mother is?" "Mom, I'm 20, not 12.
What are you worried about?"
He Jingheng was really annoyed. "Besides, I was already leading troops to fight at the age of 12, and I never saw you cry like this." Qin was choked by his words. Seeing this, He Yuni stepped forward and whispered, "Mom is actually worried that you killed my second uncle, He Jingheng." He Yuni saw that his brother's face had turned dark and immediately said, "Brother, don't be angry." At this time, he saw Shang Ruoi walking into the main hall out of the corner of his eye, and he breathed a sigh of relief. The savior has come, and with his sister-in-law around, his brother will definitely not be angry. "Sister-in-law, you're back." Shang Ruoi nodded and said to the old princess, "Grandmother, that man is undoubtedly my second uncle." The old princess sighed and said nothing. "He's Yuan's side. I didn't expect that my second brother would die like this." Just then, a maid came in and whispered, "Madam, Master Jinghe has woken up." "I know." The old princess stood up with the help of Aunt Li. "I'll go and see." Shang Ruoi narrowed her eyes slightly. "Master Jinghe?" He Yuni knew what she was thinking and whispered, after seeing He Jinghe like that, Grandma somehow wanted to keep him in the mansion. "Did Grandma say that?" He Yuni pouted. "I heard from the elders in the mansion before that He Jinghe is the child who looks most like Grandpa. I think it's because of this that even if he has such a background, Grandma still can't bear it." Shang Ruoi's eyes showed a hint of coldness. "Wanna stay?"
Dream on.
"Since he's awake, I'll go take a look and see if there's anything I can do to help." Shang Ruoi told Ying Xue to get her medicine box. She wanted to see what He Jinghe had up his sleeves. "I'll go too." He Yuni was now like her little follower, and she wished she could follow her 12 hours a day. When Shang Ruoi arrived at He Jinghe's residence, she heard him crying softly, "Grandma, my father died so tragically." A grown man cried like a fool. "Madam, the young lady and the young lady are here," Aunt Lee said softly. "Young lady? Shang Ruai?" He Jinghe rolled his eyes and fainted when he heard that. Jinghe! Jinghe! The old princess couldn't help but scream. Shang Ruai couldn't help but sneer when she saw this. Did He Jinghe's brain die before it grew out? It was really not very useful. Just as she was about to take the medicine box from Mingxue, He Yuni snatched it away from her. "Sister-in-law, let me get it for you." Knowing that she wanted to watch the fun, Shang Ruai didn't understand. She was obviously a very lively child, so why was she raised by the He family to be so quiet? She smiled and walked in with He Yuni. In the room, the old princess was anxiously asking Aunt Lee to call a doctor. Shang Ruai walked in and said with a smile, "Grandma, why do you need a doctor? Am I not a doctor?" "Yes, yes, look at Grandma's memory." She pulled Shang Ruai to the bedside of He Jinghe. "Hurry up and check on Jinghe. Why is he fainted again?" He Yuni curled her lips. "What do you mean fainted? It seems to me that he was scared when he heard that sister-in-law is coming." "Don't talk nonsense." The old princess glanced at her. Shang Ruai smiled. "It's okay, his disease is easy to cure." She took out a row of silver needles, held them in her hand, and measured them carefully while muttering to herself. "Which silver needle is thicker?" "Silver needle? Thick?" He Jinghe, who was pretending to faint, was shocked when he heard it. He quietly opened his eyes a little and saw that she was holding a handful of silver needles in her hand. He was so scared that he almost ran away. Shang Ruai knew that he was pretending to faint and deliberately said, "These ones are thicker. Aunt Lee, find a few servants to come in." Not long after, several strong servants came in. Everyone was a little confused. What was the point of finding servants to treat the disease? Shang Ruai took out the thickest silver needle, smiled, and said, "This one. It's better to be thicker so that he can wake up faster when it is inserted into the fingertips." He Jinghe squinted and saw that the silver needle in her hand was more than 10 times thicker than the previous silver needles. Cold sweat instantly broke out on his forehead. Hearing his increasingly rapid breathing, she stabbed his fingertips. The piercing pain almost made him jump out of the bed. No, he couldn't wake up. If he woke up, all this pain would be in vain. As long as he didn't wake up, Shang Ruai couldn't kick him out, and he had to stay. Shang Ruai didn't expect him to be so tolerant, but it was okay this way. She curled her lips and said, "It seems that his illness is really serious and very difficult to deal with." He Jinghe was delighted to hear her say that. It seemed that it was a foregone conclusion that he would stay. As a result, Shang Ruai's next words almost made him faint. "It seems that I can only give you another acupuncture." Shang Ruai said to the servants behind her, "Hold, He Jinghe." "Press?" The old princess was a little confused. "Ruai, why do you want to hold her down? This set of acupuncture has a total of 49 needles. You have to insert every needle accurately, otherwise the person who receives the needle will bleed to death, but if he can bear it, he will definitely be cured." She had a smile on her face and said, "Nonsense, seriously. What the Hades? 49 needles? Isn't this asking for his life?" He Jinghe wanted to open his eyes at this time and then say that he was already well, so that he didn't have to continue to be pierced by Shang Ruai, but how could she give him this opportunity? She quickly inserted the needle into his arm.
Ah!
He Jinghe couldn't bear it anymore and cried out in pain, "It hurts. It hurts me to death." After saying that, he was ready to sit up from the bed. Shang Ruai shouted loudly, "What are you still standing there for? Hold it down." Hearing this, the servants hurried forward and pressed He Jinghe, who was about to get up, firmly on the bed. Shang Ruai put another needle in his arm. This acupuncture point will amplify the pain of the person. If this continues, every injection will make him extremely painful. When the old princess saw that He Jinghe woke up after one injection, she couldn't help but say, "Amazing. Ruai's medical skills are too high." Hearing this, He Jinghe wanted to curse loudly. What a tall ace. This woman, Shang Ruai, must have known that he was pretending to faint and deliberately retaliated against him. "Grandma, I'm fine now. No need for injection. He shouted loudly.
No.
Upon hearing this, the old lady refused outright. Your sister-in-law said that this acupuncture must be performed 49 times. Otherwise, the patient will bleed to death from all 7 orifices. Grandma, she lied to you. I was just pretending. I am not sick. As soon as he finished speaking, Shang Ruai continued to acupuncture. What the medical books say is true. When acupuncture is performed, the patient will talk nonsense. Let me go. Shang Ruai sneered. Look, he is talking nonsense again. Seeing He Jinghe's furious look, the old princess really looked like a madman. Jinghe, it's only 49 needles. Just bear with it, and it will be over. Endure? How to endure? So, the whole He mansion was echoed with He Jinghe's screams. It was unknown how long it took for the screams to stop. Shang Ruai put away the silver needles, looked at He Jinghe, who was already in a semi-comatose state, and said to the old princess, who was in a state of panic, Grandma, Jinghe's disease is very aggressive, so let him stay in the mansion for a while. Acupuncture is required every day for 7 consecutive days. He Jinghe, who was lying on the bed, heard this and was about to refuse, but found that his throat could not make a sound. Look, the disease has reached the throat. He Jinghe glared at Shang Ruai with anger in his eyes. This woman did it on purpose.
Okay.
The old princess took Shang Ruai's hand and advised, Ruai, Jinghe is in your hands. Don't worry, Grandma. Shang Ruai smiled and said, I am best at difficult and complicated diseases. The old princess looked at He Jinghe, who was lying on the bed half dead, turned and left. The worry in her eyes disappeared. Shang Ruai walked to the bed and looked down at He Jinghe. How dare you do this to me?
What are you talking about?
Shang Ruai pretended to be surprised and said, I didn't knock you out. I was just treating you according to what the medical books said. I didn't charge you for the consultation for the sake of my grandmother. I was already giving you face. He Yuni stepped forward and pouted, isn't it? My sister-in-law's medical skills are so good that even the imperial doctors in the palace can't compare to her. Today she condescended to give you acupuncture, but you are not only ungrateful, but also spoke rudely to her. You are really heartless. You guys. He Jinghe has struggled hard to sit up, but he had no strength at all. Looking at the dense needle holes on his arm, his eyes rolled back and he really fainted this time. Guard this room and don't let a fly fly in.
Yes.
The two walked out of the room and Hyuni said with a smile, Sister-in-law, you are so awesome.
What?
Deal with He Jinghe. Her eyes flashed with excitement. I have disliked him for a long time, and he even pretended to faint today. He deserves it, stab him to death. The smile that had just risen on Shang Ruai's face suddenly froze. Even Hyuni could see the poor acting skills of He Jinghe. The old princess had been shrewd all her life. How could she not see it? But why didn't she stop herself? At this moment, He Jinghe came toward her. How is Jinghe? Before Shang Ruai could answer, Hyuni came out and exaggerated what Shang Ruai had just done. Brother, sister-in-law is awesome. I thought I could get a compliment from He Jinghe, but he just glanced at her indifferently. I didn't ask you. Hyuni. Shang Ruai's doubts were answered. She finally knew why Hyuni was so depressed when she was in the palace. With such a brother, she would also be depressed. Shang Ruai touched her head. It's getting late. You have been tossing for a long time today. Go back and rest early. After sending Hyuni away, Shang Ruai whispered, What Yuni said is almost right. He Jinghe is indeed pretending to be unconscious. I think he is inseparable from the death of my second uncle. He Jinghe nodded. He Ning'an's death was too sudden and beyond his expectations. The next morning, when Shang Ruai came to give He Jinghe acupuncture, the old princess was already waiting there. Grandmother. Good boy. Thank you for your hard work. He Jinghe looked at the silver needles with despair. After the first needle was inserted, his throat recovered. So for the next half hour, He Jinghe's screams kept ringing in everyone's ears. The old princess sat calmly beside him drinking tea. After the acupuncture, He Jinghe's body was soaked with sweat. He had not eaten anything for a day and a night. He was hungry and in pain. He said to the old princess, "Grandma, my grandson hasn't eaten yet. Can I eat something first?" The old princess looked at Shangruai. "Can he eat?" "Don't worry, Grandma. I have asked the kitchen to prepare it." After that, the servant brought a bowl of white porridge. "You are sick now, you can only drink white porridge." White porridge. He Jinghe wanted to cry, but white porridge is white porridge. It's better than being hungry. At this time, Ingxue walked in. "Miss, the person who got the strawberries is here." Shang Ruai came to the greenhouse and saw a man in purple standing in front of the greenhouse, looking around curiously. "Young master, what's the matter?" Su Zimo heard the voice, turned around and took a look. He was shocked and gritted his teeth secretly. What kind of fate is this He Jingheng? He can actually marry such a beautiful prince's consort. Even Shinshi, who is known as the most beautiful woman in the capital, can't compare to this beauty. It's really strange. How come I have never seen such a beautiful girl in the capital for so many years? I only saw her side face that day, and I knew that she was an extremely beautiful girl. Seeing her face today, it can be said that I was shocked. How could he know that if Shang Ruai hadn't been going to marry in place of Shang Yufu, she would have been forgotten by the Shang family to who knows where in the world? "I'm here to get strawberries. Doesn't the girl sell 15 baskets of strawberries to Tang Xiangju every day?" Shang Ruai took a look at his attire. Generally speaking, the shopkeeper would send servants to pick up the goods, but the man in front of her was obviously not a servant. Just looking at the clothes he was wearing, one could tell that he was either rich or noble.
"So, he's Sister Qian's man,"
she said to Ingxue behind her. "Load the strawberries for the young master."
"Yes."
Su Zimo smiled and said, "Miss, I'm sorry to ask, where did you get these strawberries?" "In the woods in front." She pointed to the dense forest in the east. "After transplanting them back, I improved them a little bit and they look like this now." Su Zimo nodded, not quite understanding. He didn't believe that there were such delicious fruits in that forest. He Jingheng's young wife was quite good at lying, but her excuse was not convincing. She was clearly trying to fool him, but he had no right to refute. While talking, 15 baskets of strawberries were loaded onto the car. "I see that you have planted a lot of things in this house. Do you have anything good to sell to me?" Shang Ruai looked at him in surprise. "There are indeed many good things in my greenhouse, but they are all very valuable. Can you make the decision on such a business?" Su Zimo thought that Shang Ruai was too smart and smiled. "I'm just asking. These things naturally require money, and the shopkeeper has the final say." At this time, a servant came over and whispered, "Master, the car has been loaded." Although the voice was small, Shang Ruai heard every word clearly. He is indeed not an ordinary person. Whether it is the way he dresses or his appearance and aura, he is definitely not an ordinary person. Although he cannot be compared with He Jingheng, he is far superior to ordinary rich boys. However, judging from his accent, he seems to be from the capital. At this time, Xiaoyao came over. "Miss, the official has come to the mansion, and Aunt Zhao and her family also came with him." Aunt Zhao? When they arrived at the place of exile, Aunt Zhao and her family saw that she had chosen a thatched house, so they chose a stone house for themselves. Later, she rarely appeared in front of them. As time went by, Shang Ruai forgot about these three people. "Since your family has something to do, Su will not disturb you. Here are 300 taels." Su Zimo bowed and said goodbye. "We will see each other again." After he finished speaking, he got on the carriage and left. Shang Ruai looked at the back of the carriage leaving, and asked in a deep voice, "Peony, do you know who he is?" "Miss, since I entered the Prime Minister's mansion, I have been serving the aunt in the mansion. The aunt does not have many opportunities to leave the mansion, and I have rarely left the Prime Minister's mansion." Shang Ruai nodded. Wasn't she the same? She had never stepped out of the mansion since she was born. Shang Ruai handed the banknote to Xiaoya. "You take it to the accounting office." Seeing that she was so confident in handing over 300 taels of silver to her, Xiaoya was startled. "Miss, aren't you worried that I will do something with these silver notes?" Shang Ruai smiled. "Trust the people you employ, and don't employ them if you don't trust them. Since I let you serve me, I will trust you. Besides, if you follow me, I will not treat you unfairly. The people around me should not look down on a mere 300 taels of silver." Xiaoyao's heart was shocked, and her eyes were slightly red. She didn't expect that she would meet a master like Shang Ruai. Even in this place of exile, what does it matter? In her opinion, this place is much more comfortable than the capital. Shang Ruai came to the main hall. She thought they were sent by County Magistrate Zhang, but they were actually officials from the town, and the leader was the person she saw in the grain store that day. He Jingheng was also there at this time. Shang Ruai walked behind him. "What are you doing here today, sir?" At this time, two Yamen runners brought up three people, none other than Aunt Zhao, He Qinian, and Lin Shiyu. The old princess asked in confusion, "Sir, why are you escorting them? They are from your He family, right?"
Yes.
These three people actually planned to escape secretly but were caught by my Yamen runners. What? Escaping from exile is a serious crime, and it will implicate family members. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. "Aunt Zhao, are you crazy?" The old princess said angrily, "Defection without permission will bring disaster to your family. Don't you understand this?" Aunt Zhao knelt on the ground and trembled. "No, it's not like that. We just
want to go to the town to buy some things."
When the official heard this, he shouted coldly, "You still dare to quibble? What do you need the three of you to leave together to buy? Didn't the Yamen runners tell you when you came here that only one person can leave at a time? Please forgive me, sir. I forgot for a moment. Please have mercy on me. I won't dare to do it again. Please give us a chance," Aunt Zhao said with a trembling voice. The official glanced at He Jingheng obscurely and then said in a deep voice, "The death penalty can be exempted, but without punishment, we cannot learn a lesson. Each of you three will be severely beaten with 30 boards to serve as a warning to others."
What?
30 boards? If they were beaten on the body, wouldn't it be painful to death? The three of them begged for mercy. "Sir, we know we were wrong. Please have mercy on us. Please have mercy on us, sir." The official was unmoved. With a wave of his hand, several Yamen runners dragged the three people to the yard. After a while, crying and shouting reached everyone's ears. At this time, the official walked up to Shang Ruoi and said in a deep voice, "In consideration of your previous merits, your family members will not be punished, but you must keep an eye on these three people. If you escape again, I can't protect you. Thank you for your mercy, sir." After the beating, the officials left. The young concubine and the others had fainted. Seeing this, the old princess said in a deep voice, "Take them away quickly." She didn't like concubine Zhao in the first place, but she still loved He Qinian. After all, he was her grandson. But after this incident, she almost implicated the whole family to be punished with them. She didn't like him at all. Young people can be better, but if these 30 boards were beaten on her, how could she be alive at this time? Thinking of this, she was even more angry. At this moment, a maid came in with an envelope in her hand. He bowed to Shang Ruai. "Madam, this is sent by the owner of the grain store in town." Shang Ruai unfolded the letter, took a look at it, and smiled. It seemed that the deal could be discussed. At this time, Qin remembered that the official had just said that Shang Ruoi had made meritorious contributions and asked curiously, "Ruoi, what is the meritorious contribution that the master just mentioned?" Shang Ruoi briefly recounted the incident of saving the storekeeper before. Everyone nodded after hearing this. They didn't expect there was such a thing. They couldn't help but feel secretly happy in their hearts. Thanks to such an incident, otherwise they would definitely be punished. He Ziyuan thought for a while and said in a deep voice, "It's a pity that this credit is used on them." "What does this mean?" Qin asked puzzledly. "There is a provision in the Tianshan law that if an exiled prisoner has made merit in the place of exile, he can apply for a commutation of sentence." He Ziyuan sighed. Such a good opportunity was actually used on them. Upon hearing this, the old princess was even more displeased with Aunt Zhao's family. Shang Ruoi shook her head. "Third uncle, even without Aunt Zhao, we can't get a commutation of sentence." When He Jingheng heard her say this, a hint of recognition flashed in his eyes. She was quite insightful. Everyone present was a meticulous person, and when they heard her say this, they knew what she meant. Emperor Tianshun had finally exiled them to this far north, and he wished they would die here for the rest of their lives. How could he let them have a chance to have their sentences commuted and return to Beijing? The old princess sighed and said lightly, "Let's all go." After she finished speaking, she was supported by Aunt Li and left. Sister-in-law. He Yuni stepped forward. "I want to learn Kung Fu. Can you teach me?" Shang Ruai was stunned. "Learn Kung Fu? Why don't you go find your brother?" He Yuni's face froze. "Brother is too strict. You don't know. One time I went to the training ground to find him. He was teaching his men Kung Fu. I saw with my own eyes that he kicked that man away." She was so scared that she turned and ran away, and even forgot to talk to him. She still remembers that scene. "Sister-in-law, please, don't let your brother teach me." That man lay on the ground for a long time and couldn't get up. If it was me, wouldn't I let him kick me to death? Shang Ruai couldn't help laughing at her. "How can it be the same? You are his biological sister. How could he use such a heavy hand?" "Why not?" He Yuni said loudly. "Before you married me, I could barely see him a few times a year, and my relationship with him is even worse than that with the cats and dogs in my yard." Before she finished her words, she heard He Jingheng's voice behind her. "Cats and dogs?" The hairs on He Yuni's back stood up. She didn't turn around, but looked at Shang Ruai and winked. Shang Ruai immediately understood. "Where can I find cats and dogs for you in this exile place?" He Jingheng found it very interesting to see the two of them acting in front of him. He heard their conversation clearly. "Want to learn Kung Fu?" He Yuni's back stiffened. She turned around slowly, with a flattering smile on her face. "Brother, I don't want to learn. Not at all." He Jingheng glanced at her. "If you want to learn, I will teach you personally." No, I don't want it at all." He Yuni hurriedly said. "I have something else to do. I'll take my leave first." After that, she turned around and ran away without caring about He Jingheng's expression. Shang Ruai couldn't help laughing and asked, "What on earth did you do? How could you scare this child like this?" She has been very timid since she was a child, and she has never suffered any hardship. It is more than twice as difficult to learn at this age than when she was a child. He Jingheng watched her back disappear around the corner, and then he fixed his eyes on her. "You must have suffered a lot learning Kung Fu." He had seen her moves, most of which were killing moves that could kill people with one, but if you want to learn such moves, you must have been injured by someone using such moves. Otherwise, you can't learn it at all. Shang Ruai's heart moved, as if something hit her the tip of her heart. In her past and present lives, this was the first time she heard someone ask her such a question. Everyone only saw how powerful her skills were, and no one had ever asked her how much hardship she had suffered and how many beatings she had received to become like this. Not bad. She looked at her nominal husband in front of her, smiled, and said, "Only those who endure hardships can become superior people." He Jingheng couldn't help but smile when he heard it. What a person who endures hardships can become superior people. Shang Ruai looked at the direction where He Yuni left and whispered, "However, if she wants to learn, I think it's better not to stop her. You can't protect her all her life. Even if you can, there will always be times when you are too busy and can't reach her. Haven't you heard of a saying? It's called, 'The rope always breaks at the thinnest point.' Sometimes, just when you have no time to take care of it, trouble will come to you. I always think that people are more down to earth to rely on themselves. Even women should rely on themselves." He Jingheng looked at the firm look in her eyes, and his heart was slightly shocked. Rely on yourself? So in her heart, she has always thought so.
Okay.
He Jingheng nodded. "You can make the decision on family matters."
What?
What family matters? Shang Ruai's pretty face turned slightly red, and she turned to leave. At this time, her wrist was gently grabbed by him. "Do you want to learn?" He Jingheng looked at the two people pulling each other in the distance in the yard, his eyes full of resentment.
Why?
Why did I become like this today, while they can live so comfortably? They even have the mind to talk about love. This is unfair. Thinking of what the man said to him, he gritted his teeth. "If you are unkind, don't blame me for being unjust." That afternoon, Shang Ruai started basic training with He Yuni. When Hiyuni learned that she could learn kung fu from her, she was very excited. She changed into light clothes and followed Shang Ruai into the dense forest. Sister-in-law, why do we come here to practice? Your brother said that the family should not know about your learning of kung fu for the time being. Maybe he is afraid that mother will feel bad. Hiyuni nodded. Her brother was thoughtful. If mother knew that she was learning kung fu from sister-in-law, she didn't know how to stop her. Mother only hoped that she could read books, practice calligraphy, embroider, and play the piano at home like a lady from a noble family. For so many years, she has indeed lived the way her mother wanted, but she is not happy at all. She likes the vast world outside and doesn't like to be bound by those rules and regulations, so she simply stays at home. In the long run, she will become the depressed look before. Until this exile, she may be the only one in the family who thinks it is a happy thing. Shang Ruai was afraid that she could not bear it, so she increased the intensity of training little by little. No matter how difficult it was, she gritted her teeth and persisted. In a blink of an eye, half a month passed. After giving He Jinghe acupuncture that day, she got up and left after watching him fall into a coma. Hearing the door of the room being closed, He Jinghe, who was originally asleep, suddenly opened his eyes. How could there be any sleepiness in his eyes? A sinister smile appeared on the corner of his lips. Counting the days. It must be today. Shang Ruai took Hiyuni and walked towards the dense forest. Sister-in-law, I haven't seen my brother in the past 2 days. Where has he gone? Shang Ruai shook her head. He said he was going to the county town in the next few days and should be back soon. Just halfway through the walk, she suddenly stopped. She squatted on the ground with her palms touching the ground. After a moment, she stood up suddenly, calculated the distance, and was afraid that it would be too late to run back to the He family from here. So she pulled Hiyuni and ran in another direction. A sister-in-law. Shang Ruai whispered. Stay here and don't make a sound. He placed her in a hidden bush, looked at the big tree behind him, and said in a deep voice, Aching, her safety is in your hands.
Yes.
The shadow of the tree swayed, and Aching jumped down from the tree. I will do my best to protect the young lady. Shang Ruai took advantage of the bushes to run deep into the dense forest. Seeing that there was no one around, she took out a hidden weapon from the space and tied it to her body. She also held a crossbow in her hand and summoned the white tiger from the space. She patted its big head. Xiaobai, let's fight side by side today. These people really know how to pick the time, and they come here specifically when He Jinghe is not around. Or did they deliberately pick the time when He Jinghe was not around, wanting to cut off his source of fire? As soon as these people walked into the dense forest, they were trapped in the Bagwal Yangi formation set up by He Jinghe. They felt that their bodies became heavier and their heads began to feel dizzy as they walked deeper. Something is wrong. We must be trapped in the formation. The leading man said coldly, Stop.
Formation?
Yes, He Jinghe is a master of formations. There must be a formation he set up here. It looks like the Bagwal Yangi formation to me. The man looked up at the sun, smiled and said, But it doesn't matter. This formation combines the energy of the sun and the moon with the miasma in the forest. There are more clouds today. As long as the clouds block the sun, the formation will be invalid. Not long after, the sun was blocked, and the pressure on everyone suddenly disappeared. You are worthy of being the boss. You are knowledgeable and experienced. I admire you. The man sneered. It's just a trifle. Shang Ruai felt the footsteps getting closer and closer. It seemed that He Jinghe's formation had been cracked. She looked up at the sky. There were too many clouds today, and the effectiveness of the formation was greatly reduced. It seemed that these people were much smarter than the previous assassins. She patted the white tiger's head and said a few words in its ear. The white tiger rubbed her legs and disappeared into the depths of the dense forest. At this time, the group of people had already come close. Shang Ruai held the fuse in her hand. As long as she entered the attack range, she would directly sprinkle the powder. Suddenly, the leading man stopped and said in a deep voice, Wait. Boss, what happened? The man lowered the corners of his lips and said coldly, Are you sure He Jingheng is not here today?
Sure.
Okay. Today we will kill all the other members of the He family and let him taste the feeling of his family being destroyed. These words reached Zhang Ruoyi's ears, and she curled her eyes, feeling very disdainful in her heart. It sounds nice to say, but in fact, isn't it just because they are afraid of He Jingheng? They choose to come when he is not around and bully the old, weak, women and children in the He family.
What kind of ability is that?
Boss, I heard that He Jingheng's wife and the young lady of the He family are very beautiful. The meaning of his words was self-evident. In that case, then these two women. Before he finished speaking, an arrow shot towards his forehead with a sound of breaking wind.
What is that?
He quickly dodged to the side, but the people around him did not have his skills. Puff puff. The arrow went straight through the chest of a killer and shot into the chest of another person. Killing two birds with one stone, that's what it means.
Who?
The leading man's eyes turned cold when he saw this. The only answer he got was the chirping of birds in the woods. He looked at the arrows on the corpse and frowned. These were completely different from the arrows they used, and he had never seen them before. Boss, could it be a mechanism? The man nodded, maybe. He turned around and ordered, "Watch your step. Don't step on anything." Yes. Zhang Ruoyi sneered when she saw how cautious they were, raised her crossbow, aimed it at his head, and pressed the mechanism. Swoosh. The arrow left the crossbow and flew towards the man's head. At this time, they were already on alert. When they found the arrow coming, they quickly dodged two of them. Having seen the unusual power of the arrow, they did not dare to confront it head-on. After discovering the direction from which the arrow came, the leading man drew the sword at his waist and flew towards her at lightning speed. However, when he arrived close, he found that there was no one there. After searching for a long time, not only did he not find anyone, but there was no trace of the mechanism that shot the arrow. The arrow seemed to appear out of thin air. Could it be that he was possessed by an evil spirit? Thinking of this, he felt his scalp tingling. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, suddenly another arrow shot at him. He hurriedly swung his sword, and with a ding sound, the dark arrow hit his sword. The huge directly knocked him back a few steps. He finally stabilized his body and was ready to go forward to check again, but there was still no shadow of a person there.
He was really panicked at this time.
Could it be that he encountered a ghost in broad daylight? He looked around, and the more he looked, the more he felt that the place was too dead. Zhang Ruoyi was in the space at this time. Looking at his panicked expression, she couldn't help laughing. Coward, are you scared at this level? Boss. The people behind him saw his pale face and couldn't help asking, "Boss, what's wrong with you? There's something weird in this forest. Retreat. Retreat quickly." Just as the voice fell, several arrows were fired at once. Seeing this, the people who had been on alert waved their swords, trying to knock down the arrows. However, the swords in their hands broke into two pieces after colliding with the arrows. Hiss. How could this happen? What on earth is this made of? It is even harder than a sword? It was really frustrating to come here this time. Not only did they lose several brothers before they got close to the He Mansion, but now even their weapons are broken. What is the point of fighting? The most terrifying thing is that their opponents have never shown their faces from beginning to end, or it should be said that they don't even know who their opponents are. Zhang Ruoyi was slightly relieved when she saw that they wanted to leave. Although there are guards in the courtyard now, there are more women and children. If they really fight, I am afraid they will be overwhelmed. At this time, He Jinghe, who was waiting in the room, was extremely anxious and kept looking out. What time is it? Why haven't they rushed in yet? He looked out through the door and saw the guards walking back and forth in the yard. He suddenly had an idea and ran out holding his stomach. Ouch! My stomach. What's wrong? A guard stepped forward and said in a cold voice, "Where are you going?" He Jinghe heard this and said angrily, "You bold, my stomach hurts. Where do you say I should go?" "Of course I'm going to the toilet. How could I go to your house?" Seeing that he had been holding his stomach and fine beads of sweat oozing from his forehead, which did not seem to be fake, he led him to the toilet. As soon as he arrived at the door of the toilet, he took out a tube, picked up one end and blew gently. A white smoke appeared, and the guard walking in front instantly fell to the ground. Seeing that there was no one around, He Jinghe dragged him aside, then took off his clothes and put them on himself. After everything was done, he lowered his head and walked towards Shang Ruai's yard. He knew early on that Shang Ruai would go to the dense forest at this time every day, but he was not very clear about what she was doing specifically. When they arrived at the yard, Xiao Rao and the other two were all there. He Jinghe walked in with his head down. The young lady asked you to go to the greenhouse. Xiao Yao and the others were stunned when they heard this. Shouldn't the young lady be teaching kung fu in the dense forest at this time? Why was she in the greenhouse? Did the young lady say what she was doing? He Jinghe shook his head. The young lady just asked you to go there quickly. Ying Xue and Xuanmei came forward and whispered, Sister Xiaoyao, since the young lady called us, let's go quickly. Xiaoyao put down the work in her hands and followed behind the two of them. She accidentally saw the back of He Jinghe's hand. There were dense pinholes on it. She frowned slightly and just wanted to ask him to raise his head when she heard Ying Xue say, Let's go. Maybe the people from Taixiangju are here again. The young lady said a few days ago that there are new fruits to sell. When Xiaorao heard this, the idea that had just sprouted in her mind disappeared in an instant, and she hurriedly followed. Seeing them go away, He Jinghe flashed into the room. Shang Ruai's room is very simple, with a bed, 2 low couches, a table, and a dressing table and other ornaments. He rummaged in the room for a long time, and except for some jewelry in the dressing table box, he didn't find anything useful. Where is it? He put some gold, silver, and jade into his arms and kept searching with his hands. Could it be on He Jinghe? At this time, he found a box under the bed. The box was made of Dalbergia odorifera. This box alone was worth a fortune.
It must be this.
He Jinghe slowly opened the box, and inside was an emerald green ring. If Shang Ruai saw it, she would find that this ring was the one that He Jinghe asked her to. Finally found it. He put the box in his arms and walked towards the door with his head down. Xiaorao followed behind Ying Xue and the others. The more she thought about it, the more something was wrong. The figure of that person looked familiar.
Who was he?
At this moment, the hand with only a pinhole flashed in front of her again. Oh no! It was He Jinghe. She had been to He Jinghe's yard with the young lady that day, and his hand was like this today. I've fallen into a trap. She turned around and ran back quickly. Ying Xue, Xuanmei, hurry up. Go back quickly. That person is not a servant in the mansion at all, but He Jinghe. Hearing this, the two sisters frowned and quickly ran towards the mansion. After all, they were skilled in martial arts and could run faster. But even so, when they came back, the house was empty. He Jinghe was nowhere to be found, and all the gold and silver jewelry in the jewelry box on the dressing table disappeared. We have to go and inform the young lady. Xiaoyao said in a deep voice, I will go find the young lady, and you go and inform the servants to make sure He Jinghe is found. Okay. He Jinghe had already left the He mansion unimpeded by this time, so smoothly that even he himself found it hard to believe. Just as he was about to walk into the dense forest, he suddenly stopped. He took out the ring, put it in the innermost cloth bag, and tied it up. Seeing that there was no one around, he stuffed it into an extremely hidden crevice in the stone, and then stepped into the dense forest. He Yuni and Ah Chung had been waiting for Shang Ruai there, and saw a man in a servant's clothes walking towards the dense forest. She was about to call him, but Ah Chung made a hushed gesture to her and whispered, That man is not a servant in the mansion, but He Jinghe. He Jinghe? How did he get out? We can't let him get away. Let's catch up. Ah Chung shook his head. Miss, the young lady asked you to wait here, and your subordinates cannot take you into the dense forest. Are you missing a bone in your brain? He Jinghe is about to run away, but you are still sticking to your sister-in-law's orders. He Yuni said angrily. Where did my sister-in-law find such a stubborn person like you? I don't understand anything else. I only know that military orders are like mountains. I must complete the master's orders. Ah Chung said firmly. Then have you ever heard that a general is not subject to military orders when he is away from the battlefield? Hiyuni is a descendant of a general after all. When she is serious, she has a natural aura. Ah Cheng blinked, looked at her, and said no more. Hiyuni thought she had convinced him, and she was happy. What are you waiting for if you don't go after her? Ah Cheng still stood there after hearing that, unmoved. Hiyuni was out of breath, and it seemed that she was not convinced by her, but ignored her words. He Jinghe came to the dense forest, and after walking for a long time, he didn't see anyone, nor did he hear any fighting. He couldn't help but wonder, could it be that he remembered the time wrong? At this moment, he kicked something under his feet and tripped him to the ground. What the Hades? He looked closely and was almost scared to death. What tripped him was nothing else but a corpse. There was a bloody hole in the heart of the corpse, and next to this corpse was another corpse lying, with a black arrow stuck in the body of the corpse. He crawled forward in a panic, and suddenly a pair of shoes appeared in front of him. Before he could look up, a stick knocked him down, his eyes rolled over, and he fainted. When he woke up, he saw that his eyes were covered by something, and he couldn't see anything. A smell he had never smelled before filled his nasal cavity. Awake? A male voice suddenly appeared. He Jinghe hurriedly said, "Hero, I don't know how I have offended you." There was no answer from the man, only the sound of metal colliding again and again. This is the sound of sharpening a knife. He struggled hard. Hero, if you have something to say, let's talk nicely, don't kill me, don't kill me. Still without waiting for an answer. At this time, footsteps came. He felt someone standing in front of him and thought his begging for mercy had worked. Before he could continue speaking, he suddenly felt a chill on his neck. It's a knife. In an instant, a cold sweat broke out on his body. Hero, do you want silver? I have it. I just stole it from the He family. He shouted loudly. It's in my pocket. I'll give it all to you, as long as you let me go. After he finished speaking, the knife not only did not leave his throat, but pressed down a few points. He felt a pain in his neck, and he felt a hot current flowing down his neck. This man really wanted to kill him. Hero, as long as you let me go, I can give you anything you want. After the words fell, the cold knife stopped on his neck. Oh, anything? Seeing him respond to him, He Jinghe nodded quickly. Yes, anything. Gold, silver, jewelry, talented men and beautiful women, or fame and status. I can give you all, as long as you let me go. Hee. A cold smile came. Don't you look at what you look like now. You still have wealth, honor, and status. You don't even have it yourself. How can you give it to me? After speaking, the knife on the neck was pressed down a few points deeper. The pain that came again scared He Jinghe so much that he almost wet his pants. After these few days, I will have it. The hand holding the handle of the knife loosened. What do you mean? There is a mysterious man who found me and said that as long as I find something in the He family, he will give me everything I want. He Jinghe said loudly, Really, I swear. What is it? A ring. Ring? Shang Ruai's heart skipped a beat. Ring? Could it be the one that He Jinghe gave her that day? Yes, it was Shang Ruai who kidnapped He Jinghe. At this moment, the two of them were in her space. Where is the ring? I hid the ring. I have a box in my arms which is used to hold the ring. I will give them the box in exchange for what they want, and then I will give them the ring. Shang Ruai took out the box. She had indeed seen this box in He Jinghe's hands. It seemed that he had taken the ring away, as she said. She wanted to find out the whereabouts of the ring, but she swallowed the words back. Instead of the whereabouts of the ring, what she should know most now is who made him do such a thing. Wealth and honor are easy to obtain, but fame and status are hard to come by. Those who can make such a promise must be rich or noble. What does this ring mean? She smiled and still said in a male voice, Okay, in this case, I will believe you once, but I need a guarantee. After she finished speaking, she threw a pill into his mouth. What is this? Cough, 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 cough. Of course it's poison. Shang Ruai sneered. When you do what you said, I will give you the antidote. If you dare to play tricks on me, you will die with a ruptured stomach and you will not be able to enjoy any wealth and honor. When He Jinghe heard this, his body trembled. Don't worry, hero, I will never go back on my word, But how can I interrogate you? No need to look for me. I will find you. As soon as he finished speaking, a hand knife chopped him on the body, and He Jinghe fainted again. Seeing that there was no one around, Zhang Ruai kicked him out of the space. As soon as he walked out of the space, he heard Xiaoyao's shouting from time to time.
Miss.
Miss. Xiaoyao searched for a long time, but where was the shadow of her young lady? Just when she was about to go back to the mansion to let others look for her, she saw Zhang Ruai coming over. What's wrong?
Miss.
Xiaoyao hurried forward. Oh no. He Jinghe ran away. She narrated what had just happened. Zhang Ruai nodded and said in a deep voice, I didn't expect He Jinghe to be so cunning. Let's go back to the mansion to see if there are any other places stolen. When He Yuni saw Zhang Ruai's figure appear at the edge of the dense forest, she was so excited that she almost cried. Sister-in-law. She ran over. This time, Ah Chung did not stop her. Sister-in-law, you finally came out.
I was so worried about you.
Are you hurt? She looked around and found no blood, so she felt relieved. Suddenly remembering what she saw He Jinghe, she said in a deep voice, Sister-in-law, He Jinghe has also entered the dense forest. Did you see him? She glared at Ah Ching next to her again. It's all his fault. I said to follow him and take a look, but he wouldn't let me. Zhang Ruai heard what she said and looked at Ah Chung with appreciation. Well done.
Did.
He Yuni didn't expect Zhang Ruai to say that and was choked for a moment. He did nothing wrong. With your skills, you have no power to fight back against the bad guys. He Yuni pouted and said no more. Thank you, young lady, for your compliment. Inside Tianxiangju, He Jinghe took a sip of tea and said lightly, Did the things take away? Took it away. Yun Tian said softly, but he was smart. He hid the ring, which was regarded as leaving a way out for himself. Where is the person who contacted him? Our people were a step late. When we arrived, we only found 2 bodies and no one else. After he finished speaking, he took out the arrows he picked up from the ground. There are some scattered on the ground. I have never seen this kind of arrows, so I wanted to show them to you. He Jinghe took the arrow in his hand, looked at it for a long time, and said in a cold voice, Where is the madam? The princess has been in the mansion and has not gone out. He Jinghe stared at Yun Tian with his inky black eyes without saying a word. Feeling the pressure coming from the front, Yun Tian couldn't help but wonder, what did he say wrong? The princess is in the mansion. Yunqi, who was standing aside in line to report, glanced at him. Stupid thing, Your Highness is asking about the Crown Prince's consort.
Is it?
The Crown Prince's consort? He looked up at He Jinghe, and seeing that he was waiting for his answer, he hurriedly said, The Crown Prince's consort, as usual, led the young lady to the dense forest. His voice suddenly rose. Could it be that the 2 people were killed by the Crown Prince's consort? He Jinghe looked at the arrow in his hand without saying a word. Yunqi said in a deep voice, Your Highness, if it is really the Crown Prince's consort, it doesn't matter. There was a hint of smile in He Jinghe's eyes. This woman was really a surprise. Send more people to guard outside the mansion and make sure their safety is guaranteed. Yes. Just then, Su Zimo pushed the door open in a hurry. He Jinghe, get out. He Jinghe said coldly, Is this how you teach the rules in the Marquis mansion? You don't even knock on the door before entering someone else's room? Su Zimo looked at Yun Tianyunki standing on both sides. What's wrong with your master today? Su Zimo, you are very free, right? Why don't you go back to Beijing? Feske, so ruthless. Isn't this why this young master came here? Su Zimo curled his lips. You are so good. Not only do you not appreciate it, but you also keep driving me away. He sat on the couch and glanced at him. What's more, this is my property. You are eating and drinking for free on my territory now. Not only do you not know how to be grateful, but you also want to drive me away. Are there any people like you? After saying this, he suddenly sat up. But to be honest, your new wife is really good. Although she is a concubine's daughter, in my opinion, she is many times better than the famous ladies in the capital. Upon hearing this, He Jinghe's fierceness diminished a little. This discovery made Su Zimo want to tease him. Jinghe, before marriage, didn't you say that after things are over, He gestured on his neck. He Jingheng's face did not change, and he said in a cold voice, "Just. Do you still think so now?" He Jingheng's hands on the table curled up slightly. Su Zimo saw his little movement and couldn't help laughing. It seems that even a cold-hearted person like him is no exception. Come to think of it, who would be willing to kill such a smart and capable woman? If she was not He Jingheng's wife, maybe he. As soon as this thought came into his mind, he wanted to slap himself. What was he thinking? That was He Jingheng's wife. What does it have to do with you? He Jingheng looked at him. When will Dr. Shui arrive? In just a few days. Su Zimo frowned. If Dr. Shui can cure your leg, are you sure you want him to cure it? You have to know that his daughter has been coveting you for a long time. He Jingheng looked at him with disdain. You'd better read more books. Su Zimo rolled his eyes at him. Isn't it? If it can be cured, I will naturally cure it. Then his daughter. I have one wife. That's enough. The Dingwa Palace doesn't need so many women. He took a sip of tea lightly, not knowing what kind of storm his words had stirred up in the ears of the other three. His words undoubtedly confirmed the status of Shang Ruai in his heart. Su Zimo said to Yunqi and the other two, who were stunned with a look of "I knew it," and said with a smile, "Did you hear that? From now on, Shang Ruai is your real mistress. Master, she is Shang Yan's." Before Yun Tian could finish, Yunqi covered his mouth one by one. He Jingheng just glanced at Yun Tian lightly, without saying a word. "Master, I'll take my leave." He dragged Yun Tian out of the room and said coldly, "Are you crazy?
But
Are you blind?" Yunqi stretched out and gestured in front of his eyes. "Are these two things used for breathing? Haven't you seen that every time their master mentions the crown prince's consort, he always has a smile on his face? Even though it's a faint smile, he has been with the master for so many years, and he has never seen him smile like this to anyone. Her father plotted against the master like that." Yunqi slapped him on the back of his head. "Whose father? Whose father?" "The crown prince's consort's father." Yunqi was tired of beating him. Did this man's brain fall into the quilt when he got up in the morning? Remember, the crown prince's consort is the crown prince's consort, and Shangnian is Shangnian. Yunqi whispered. Since her exile, the crown prince's consort has done so much for the palace that even a blind person can see. Why can't you see it? And didn't the crown prince's consort return the ring to his highness? How do you know she didn't find out that it was a fake ring and did it on purpose? In order to deceive the crown prince's trust. Yun Tian still didn't want to believe that Shang Ruai had no intentions towards their Dingwa palace. Seeing her like this, Yunqi didn't want to persuade her anymore. "You can take care of yourself. Having been with the prince for so many years, I have never seen him misjudge anyone, but today it seems that the prince has overestimated your brain." Shang Ruai returned to the yard and put back the jewelry that was taken away by He Jinghe. At this time, Xu Wenmei said that Wang Erju, who was in charge of the greenhouse, was looking for her. "What's the matter?" She saw Wang Erju sweating profusely and had a bad feeling in her heart. "Boss, just now a wild boar came from nowhere, rushed into the greenhouse, and trampled a large area of grain." Shang Ruai frowned. "Why are there wild boars here? There have always been wild boars in recent years. I didn't expect that this beast would rush into the greenhouse." Wang Erju said anxiously, "You go and have a look." When Shang Ruai arrived, the wild boar was rampaging in the greenhouse. Shang Ruai looked at the trampled grain and couldn't help but get angry. He wasted food and deserves to be killed.
Boss.
When the workers saw her coming, they finally showed some joy on their faces. But when they saw that there was no one behind her, they were shocked. She came alone, without even a guard. How could she catch a wild boar by herself? Although they knew she had some skills, wild boars were different from other wild boars. They were very strong, especially the one in front of them was a male wild boar. "Bring a stick," she shouted. Wang Erju handed her a wooden stick that was more than 1 meter long. Shang Ruai took it in one hand. Everyone gasped when they saw her holding the stick effortlessly. You know, this is not an ordinary wooden stick. This wooden stick is as thick as a bowl. Even if an ordinary man holds it with both hands, it is a bit difficult. She actually held it with one hand, and effortlessly. It is hard to imagine how strong Shang Ruai is. And when she held the stick, everyone found that the aura around her changed significantly. She was extremely gentle on weekdays, but at this moment, her pupils were full of fierceness, and just looking at her made people shudder. At this time, people were actually a little worried about the wild boar opposite. It was not known whether it could withstand Shang Ruai's beating. The wild boar looked at someone standing opposite it, breathing heavily from its nostrils, and its eyes became extremely dangerous. It dug its front hooves and rushed towards Shang Ruai. The wild boar was so big that everyone could feel the ground shaking when it ran. Shang Ruai snorted coldly, raised the stick in her hand, and hit the wild boar on the head accurately.
Hiss.
People were stunned on the spot as they watched the wild boar that couldn't stand steadily after being hit by a stick. Shang Ruai didn't give it a chance to breathe. She raised her hand and hit it with another stick. The wild boar fell directly to the ground and was unconscious. She threw the stick in her hand to the ground casually, raising a cloud of dust, which showed how strong she was. "You deserved it for wasting food," she ordered behind her. "Send it to the kitchen and have it as an extra meal in the evening."
Yes. Yes.
Since that day, no one dared to waste food anymore. Even a grain of rice would be picked up quickly if it fell on the table. Are you kidding? Even the wild boar couldn't withstand 2 sticks from her. Wouldn't their bodies be broken? As soon as she came out of the greenhouse, she saw that Mr. Wu and Mr. Xia were studying something. When they saw her coming over, they smiled and said, "Let's take a look. How is it? Is it exactly what you thought?" Shang Ruai looked at the chicken and duck sheds in front of her and nodded. "Thank you for your hard work. It's a small matter." Mr. Wu smiled and said, "The old man also wants to thank you. My illness is really cured. I can go out for a walk these few days. The weather is getting colder, and people with lung diseases are afraid of cold. When you go out, try to choose the warm noon time."
Oh. Okay.
Mr. Wu now listens to her words and believes in what Shang Ruai said. The next day, Shang Ruai came to the market and bought a lot of chickens and ducks, both adults and children. Xiaoyao couldn't help but ask, "Miss, why did you buy so many chickens and ducks?" "Of course I want to buy them back and raise them." Shang Ruai took some out of the space and mixed them in while no one was paying attention. Chickens and ducks can be eaten for meat, and eggs and duck eggs can be eaten and sold, or they can be hatched. In this way, we can not only be self-sufficient, but also make money. Xiaoyao nodded. As expected of a young lady, she knew a lot. The news that Shang Ruai knocked out a wild boar with 2 sticks spread throughout the exile land. The 2 people planted by the prince gathered together. "Did you see it with your own eyes?" Li Xian asked in a deep voice. When this incident was mentioned, Li Tian couldn't help but shudder. "I was so scared." She just stood there, and with one hit of a stick, the wild boar that was heavier than me fell down. That was a wild boar. A big guy weighing hundreds of pounds. He gestured the size of the wild boar. "I don't think even if the 2 of us were tied together we could beat the wild boar, let alone knock it out with 2 sticks. Li Xian's heart sank when he heard him say that. They couldn't even beat the wild boar, so wouldn't it be as easy to beat Shang Ruai, who knocked the wild boar down with 2 sticks, as to kill a chicken? "Xinzi, why do I feel like we're in big trouble this time?" Li Tian almost cried. "We can't even beat Shang Ruai, let alone He Jingheng, who protects her like his own eyes." Speaking of He Jingheng, Li Xian said, "He Jingheng hasn't come back in the past few days. Could he have run away?" "Run? Where to? Can he leave his wife behind?" Zhao Junyi naturally heard about Shang Ruai knocking out a wild boar with 2 sticks. "She did it herself?" "I heard so." The Yamen runners also found it a little unbelievable, but everyone in the exile land said so they had to believe it. Zhao Junyi looked at the needle holes on his arm. It hurt so much every time. Could it be because she was too strong? At this moment, Shang Ruai came to the door with a medicine box. "Sir, it's time for the injection." Zhao Junyi suddenly came back to his senses, and when he saw her walk in, his body couldn't help but shrink.
That.
He smiled dryly. "I don't feel itchy today. Is it healed?" "Who knows? As soon as he finished speaking, an extremely itchy feeling spread to every part of his body. He didn't care whether the needle hole hurt or not, rolled up his sleeves and reached out to her. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Hurry up. Shang Ruai smiled, took out the silver needle, and the moment she stabbed it, Zhao Junyi screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Miss Shang, how long will it take for my illness to be cured? I took the pulse of the adults today, and it seems that it is much stronger than before. Shang Ruai said perfunctorily, just hold on for a while and see. Zhao Junyi nodded bitterly, and it could only be like this. In the capital, Lanqing Palace. What did you say? Concubine Zhao threw the teacup in her hand to the ground. Say it again to me. Defeat without a fight? Your Majesty, calm down. Li Gui said that there are ghosts in the dense forest. Concubine Zhao was furious. Absurd. Where do ghosts come from in this world? It is said that the arrow flew from nowhere. The arrow is all black and has never been seen before. Moreover, we searched the entire dense forest and found no traces of human presence or absence. There is no mechanism or technique. The arrows seem to appear out of thin air. Bishi said in a low voice. Really? Although she said that she did not believe in ghosts and gods, Concubine Zhao found it a little unbelievable when she heard her say this. Bishi nodded. I have asked other people, and they all said the same thing. 2 assassins also died from the arrow. Concubine Zhao clenched the beads in her hand tightly. What about the ring? Has it been brought back? Not yet. Speaking of this, Bishi said in a deep voice, when our people found He Jinghe, he only gave us this box. She handed over the wooden box containing the ring. Concubine Zhao had seen He Jinghe take the ring out of here before and said in a cold voice, what does he want in order to hand over the ring? He wants him to take over the position of Prince Ding. Ha, you are quite arrogant. Concubine Zhao sneered. How can a lowly person like him inherit the position of Prince Ding? A lowly body born of A, it is already a special favor to let him serve as the prince of a county for so long, and now he dares to covet the position of Prince Ding. Concubine Zhao snorted coldly. You are really ignorant. Your Majesty is right. Bishi knelt on the ground and said softly, then how should He Jinghe be dealt with? Agree first, and deal with him directly after getting the ring. Concubine Zhao leaned on the couch and asked in a cold voice, have you investigated the source of the silver in the Prince Ding's palace?
Not yet.
According to our people, Shang Ruai stays at home or goes to the greenhouse all day long. We haven't seen her go anywhere to get the silver. It's as if these silver coins appeared out of thin air. Bishi was puzzled, and she always makes some strange things. She also grows a kind of fruit called strawberry. It is said that it is very sweet. She can sell strawberries for hundreds of taels of silver every day. It's more comfortable than living in the capital. I didn't expect that I was wrong. Concubine Zhao's eyes were full of fierceness. This woman must not be kept. Shang Ruai, who was far away in the extreme north, sneezed twice in a row. She rubbed her nose. Someone must have scolded her behind her back. Zhao Junyi found out that He Jinghe had escaped. He came to the He family and said coldly, He Jinghe is a member of your He family. If he escapes, your entire He family will be punished. He said in a cold voice, according to the law, you will certainly be whipped dozens of times, but considering that you have always abided by your duties and have not done anything out of line, you'll be whipped 20 times and fined 100 taels of silver each. He heard that Shang Ruai could make a fortune by selling a kind of fruit called strawberries every day, so 100 taels of silver was not too much. The He family members were panicked when they heard this. How could they withstand 20 strokes of the cane? Especially the old lady and Song Fangji. How could their bodies withstand such a beating? Sir, please have mercy. My mother is old and can't bear it. Humph, I have taken extra care of your He family by not putting you in jail. After speaking, he waved his hand lightly, and a group of yamen runners came to them, wanting them to the courtyard. At this time, Shang Ruai hurried over with a piece of paper in her hand. Sir, wait a minute. Zhao Junyi saw that the person coming was Shang Ruai and frowned. What do you have to say? Don't think that you can let me be partial and corrupt just because you help me treat the disease. Shang Ruai smiled. I know what kind of person you are. You will never do such a thing. You are famous for being fair in this place of exile. This wave of flattery was very comfortable for Zhao Junyi. Go ahead. What's the matter? Shang Ruai handed him the paper in her hand. Sir, look, this is the document of our separation from He Ning'an's family, and it is signed by the government office.
What?
The document of separation? Zhao Junyi frowned and took it in his hand. It was indeed the document of separation. There was indeed the signature of the government office on it. If so, He Jinghe would have nothing to do with them. Even if he escaped, they would not be implicated. She had prepared the document of separation early in the morning, and she knew that the second house was not an easy one, so she signed it early. The He family did not expect that she would keep this trick, and they could not help but be overjoyed. The old princess's hanging heart slowly fell. Zhao Junyi looked at the document. His face sank slightly. It didn't matter whether he was beaten or not. The key point was that the 100 taels of silver he wanted to embezzle was wasted. Sir, there is nothing wrong with this document, right? Zhao Junyi returned the document to her and said in a deep voice, No problem, but He Jinghe ran away from your house. You can't escape the blame for not supervising him strictly. He wanted to say something else, but was interrupted by Shang Ruai. Speaking of this matter, even if you don't come to us, I will definitely come to you.
Oh.
After He Jinghe woke up, we kept asking him to leave, but he refused to leave. Not only did he pretend to be unconscious all day, but he also ate and drank in our house. I wanted to ask you to drive him away, but he actually stole things from my house and ran away. Shang Ruai was a little angry. Please bring him to justice, sir. This kind of traitor must not be allowed to go unpunished. After a righteous speech, she turned their He family into a victim. In this way, Zhao Junyi would not be able to find a reason to punish them. What did you lose? Some gold and silver jewelry, and a jade ring. Zhao Junyi wrote down the things she mentioned in the book, then left with a group of yamen runners with a gloomy face. After Zhao Junyi left, Qin stepped forward and said with lingering fear, Roy, thanks to you. Otherwise something bad would have happened today. Mother, I said that sister-in-law is the most powerful. He stepped forward and said, If it weren't for sister-in-law, we would not have been able to escape the beating today. Song Fengji stepped forward. Thank you very much, sister-in-law today, otherwise I, and the baby in my belly. We are all family, why say these things? Shang Ruoi had just finished speaking when she heard the old princess ask, You said he stole the ring? Yes, grandmother. Shang Ruoi whispered, When I first came here, Jingheng asked me to this ring. I thought the jade used to make the ring was very precious, but the owner of the pawn shop in the town didn't know the value of it and couldn't give a price, so he kept it on his own initiative and sold my jewelry. I didn't expect it to be stolen by him. The old princess's face was cold. She knew that He Jinghe had other intentions for their He family this time.
Come with me.
Shang Ruai followed the old princess to the inner room. There were only the two of them in the room. You said today that the ring was taken away by Jinghe. Is it true? Shang Ruai nodded. Absolutely true. The old princess slammed the table hard and said angrily, He actually dared. Grandma, is there any saying about this ring? The old princess looked at her and sighed. There is no saying, but this ring is the symbol of Prince Ding. Now that Prince Ding's mansion has been sealed, the ring is of no use. Jingheng probably just wanted to keep a thought, but he didn't expect it to be stolen by that beast. I don't know how they raised their children, but they raised a thief. Grandma, please rest assured, we have reported this matter to the government, and they will definitely help us get the ring back. Shang Ruai comforted. Grandma, don't worry. It seems that this ring is of extraordinary significance to Prince Ding's mansion. But such an important ring, how could He Jingheng let himself it? The news of the theft of the He family's ring soon spread to the capital. Prime Minister Shang, what do you think about the lost ring? After breakfast, Emperor Tianshun wiped his mouth with a towel held by the palace maid and glanced coldly at Shang Nian, who was standing beside him. I heard that your concubine's daughter is very capable. In my opinion, the He family is living a more comfortable life in exile than in the capital. Upon hearing this, Shang Nian hurriedly knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, I know nothing about the matter of my concubine's daughter. As you know, the affairs of the mansion are managed by my wife, and this concubine's daughter is taken care of by her biological mother. She should have been taught by my aunt. I really didn't know, Your Majesty. Emperor Tianshun said nothing, did not blame him, and did not let him get up. He walked to the table and reviewed the memorials for a while. At this time, the eunuch came to report, Your Majesty, the Crown Prince has come to pay his respects to you. Announce. After that, he continued to review the memorials with his head down, without even a glance at the kneeling Shang Nian. Shang Nian wiped the sweat from his head, his heart beating like a drum. It seemed that the emperor was really angry with him this time. It was all Shang Ruo's fault. She had hidden so many abilities from him for so many years. If he had known this earlier, he would have found a way to let someone else marry her and leave her to the prince. With her abilities, she would at least be a concubine, which would be helpful to the Shang family. Shang Yufu would also be able to sit firmly on the position of the crown princess. When the prince ascends the throne in the future, the two daughters of their Shang family will be the queen and the imperial concubine. Then wouldn't the harem be in the hands of a Shang family? Just one step away. At this time, He Lingsheng walked in. The first person he saw was Shang Nian, who was kneeling on the ground and wiping his sweat. He retracted his gaze and walked straight to the emperor's desk. Your son greets his father. Emperor Tianshun raised his hand holding the beads and motioned him to stand up. Thank you, father. Have you heard about it? Emperor Tianshun said in a deep voice. The He family's ring was stolen. I heard about it on the way here just now. In fact, He Lingsheng had received the news a long time ago, but such a thing could not be revealed in front of Emperor Tianshun. After all, the heart of the monarch is unpredictable, and the emperor is like this. He wants his son to be strong, but he doesn't want him to be too strong. If he is not strong, he will feel that he is not capable of sitting on this position, but if he is too strong, he will worry that he will covet his throne. He Lingsheng is well aware of the emperor's heart, so in front of Emperor Tianshun, he has always been an excellent prince, but not too ambitious. What do you think? He Lingsheng said in a low voice. I think this is a rumor deliberately released by the He family, with the purpose of making father lower his guard against them. Emperor Tianshun nodded. He thought so too. Father, what should we do now? What can we do? Can they be punished for losing the ring? Emperor Tianshun snorted coldly. Let's wait and see what happens. The father and son said a few more irrelevant words, and He Lingsheng moved his gaze to Shang Nian, who was kneeling there. What's wrong with Prime Minister Shang? Emperor Tianshun glanced at him and said coldly, Prime Minister Shang has taught his daughter well. I was thinking about how to reward him and forgot to ask him to stand up for a moment. Your Majesty does not deserve it. It is my fault that I did not educate my daughter well. It is not enough that I cannot share the worries of the emperor, but I have been causing trouble and making the emperor worried. I deserve to die. You really deserve to die. Emperor Tianshun gritted his teeth and said it word by word, frightening Shang Nian so much that he knelt on the ground trembling. Originally, when dealing with the Dingwa Palace, he thought that he would behead all of them so that he could sit firmly on the throne. However, the Dingwa Palace had made great contributions to Tianshun over the years and was deeply loved by the people. If they were really beheaded, it would shake the people's hearts, so he thought of exiling them. If they were injured or died during the exile, no one would be able to say anything. However, he did not expect that they not only arrived at the bitter cold land of the extreme north without any harm, but also lived a prosperous life. All this was thanks to Shang Ruai. Without her, let alone others, how could the old princess withstand the hardships of exile? Thinking of this, he became even angrier. He looked at Shang Nian, who was kneeling there with more and more displeasure. He Lingsheng pretended not to understand what Emperor Tianshun said and smiled and said, I didn't expect that Lord Shang, who worked so hard in the court, still had the energy to teach his children when he returned to the mansion. He is really worthy of being a model for my ministers. Your Highness, you are too kind. I am ashamed to accept it. Shang Nian's sweat broke out more. Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianshuan's anger subsided a little. He looked at Shang Nian and said lightly, "Get up." "Thank you, Your Majesty." He stood up slowly. Because he had been kneeling for too long, his legs trembled when he stood up. Seeing his appearance, Emperor Tianshun said coldly, "Go down, go down." Shang Nian was as if he had been pardoned and hurriedly retreated. After being disturbed by him, Emperor Tianshun was in a bad mood and said to He Lingsheng, "It's getting late. You should go and pay respects to your mother." "I'll take my leave." Watching him leave, Emperor Tianshun put down the memorial in his hand. Judging from his attitude toward Shang Nian today, the two did not seem to be colluding. He had known about Shang Yufu's entry into the palace for a long time. What he hated most was collusion between the former dynasty and the harem. Since He Lingsheng was made the crown prince, he knew about concubine Zhao's small moves, both overt and covert, and acquiesced. But if she coveted this position too early, she would have to be warned. However, judging from today, he was very satisfied with He Lingsheng's attitude. He knew how to advance and retreat, and he was worthy of being reused. Before He Lingsheng arrived at Lanqing Palace, he saw Bishi coming out of a corner door in a panic. If he remembered correctly, it was a dead end. At this moment, a man walked out from inside and walked in the opposite direction. The secret transactions between palace maids and guards happened in every palace, and most of the masters turned a blind eye and pretended not to know. He Lingsheng, a grown man, naturally did not want to get involved in these matters, but he had never seen that man in the palace. "Your Highness, I have seen this man outside the palace." The guard beside him stepped forward and said softly, "He is the leader of a gang, and the name seems to be Qinglong Gang."
Qinglong Gang.
How could the leader of a Jianghu gang appear here? The palace is not like other places, and you can't enter without being summoned. He didn't think Bishi was so capable as to sneak him into the palace. Then there is only one answer. That is, this man entered the palace at the order of his mother.
"Send someone to follow,"
he said in a deep voice.
"Yes."
When Shang Nian returned to the mansion, the eldest lady came up to him with a happy face. "Master, happy news. A great happy news. Have you known it?" Shang Nian looked constipated. "What happy news?" "Of course, it's the Emperor's praise." The eldest lady pulled him to the main hall and pointed to a pearl sent from the palace and said, "Look, Inuch just sent it to us, saying that the Emperor gave it to our mansion because you raised your daughter well." The eldest lady said excitedly, "Master, does the Emperor like our Fuer and want her to be the crown princess?" Shang Nian looked at the pearl, and his knees hurt even more. "Put it away, and don't show it to others." Upon hearing this, the eldest lady didn't take these things to heart, but just kept comparing the pearl with her. "Oh, my daughter is so blessed. She is not comparable to the born by that little. Our Fuer will be a queen in the future." Knowing that the eldest lady was talking about Shang Ruoi, Shang Nian said coldly, "Shang Ruoi has been in the mansion for so many years. Has she come into contact with anyone? How should I know? That little used to live with your ignorant aunt. I felt dirty just by looking at her. After she died, I never cared about her again. I didn't expect that she was so lucky and survived." Her eyes were always on the Oriental pearl, and she said nonchalantly, "Why do you care about her? She has been exiled. Maybe she has died outside." Shang Nian finally couldn't help but swearing. Where did Shang Ruoi die? She was living a fairy-like life in exile. Why did I just come back from the palace? Isn't it? He clenched his teeth tightly and sighed. "Forget it. I can't reason with you, a woman." After saying that, he waved his sleeves and turned to walk out of the main hall. The eldest lady was scolded for no reason and felt very aggrieved. She looked at the dongju in her hand and said bitterly, "That little has been dead for so many years, and you are still thinking about her daughter." On this day, He Jingheng finally came back from the county town. He lay on the couch very tired. He didn't even notice Shang Ruoi walking in. Shang Ruoi never asked about what he did, but it was the first time she saw him so tired. Suddenly, she smelled a faint smell of medicine. "Are you injured?" He Jingheng sat up and shook his head no. He looked up at the woman in front of him, and after a while, he smiled self-deprecatingly. What was so good about this woman? For her, he even gave up his legs. He remembered Su Zimo's shocked and clear expression when he said that he was incurable. At this time, Divine Dr. Jiang was sitting in Tangxiangju with an angry face. "Young Marquis, I traveled thousands of miles to this far north to treat his leg for your sake."
What does he mean by this?
Divine Dr. Jiang looked at his daughter, who was sitting beside him and crying silently. "I only have one daughter like Gunnar. Would it be too high for her to marry him?" Hearing him say this, Su Zimo's attitude was not as warm as before, but due to the other party's medical skills, he just smiled. "Jingheng is already married, and it is indeed not suitable for him to marry your daughter again." "Humph, I heard that his wife is just a concubine's daughter. If she wants to divorce him, then divorce her. What can she compare with my daughter?" He snorted coldly. "If Anur had not insisted on marrying him, how could I marry my daughter to the family of an exiled, deposed king?"
Deposed king?
Su Zimo stood up, shook off the non-existent dust on his body, and pulled out an unfriendly smile. Maybe Dr. Jiang is old and doesn't know what to say and what not to say. Since Jingheng said he can't cure it, then he won't cure it. "What do you mean, young Marquis?" Dr. Jiang stood up. "Could it be that young Marquis thinks that my Anur is unworthy of He Jingheng, and that's unfair to him?"
Hee.
Su Zimo smiled and shook his head. "It's more than unfair." The smile on his face disappeared in an instant. "It seems that most of the rumors in the market are not credible, and Dr. Jiang is not as kind-hearted as the rumors say. It is my fault to ask Dr. Jiang to come, but I have a word for Dr. Jiang. Things change over time. The world is unpredictable and feng shui is changing. Dr. Jiang must be careful in what he says and does." Dr. Jiang looked at Su Zimo with a sullen face. "The young Marquis's advice. I will keep it in mind." He took Jiang's hand and said angrily, "I hope the young Marquis is healthy, and it would be best if no disease or disaster befell me." "Thank you for your good wishes," he said in a deep voice. "See you out." After seeing off the father and daughter of Dr. Jiang, Su Zimo sat on the chair, and the corners of his lips unconsciously raised. He didn't expect that He Jingheng would be blinded by one day. Dr. Jiang said that there was a 50% chance of curing his leg. Dr. Jiang was already the best doctor in Tianshan. There were countless people from the 4 countries who came to him for medical treatment. If he said there was only a 50% chance, then other people might not even have a 10% chance. The weather was getting colder and colder. The last rain of this year fell a few days ago, and it was about to enter winter. The vegetables in the greenhouse were ripe. The workers working in the greenhouse felt incredible that such good vegetables could grow in such an extremely cold place. I don't know if it was their illusion. The vegetables here are more tender and juicy than the vegetables they planted before. "Boss, the dishes have been prepared as you ordered. Do you want to see them?" Erju said with a smile. "The charcoal basin in the car is also ready." "No need, let's go." Shang Ruai walked onto another carriage, which was covered with thick mats. Xiaorao also prepared a hot water bottle for her. Shang Ruai drank spiritual spring water every day, and her body was more than 100 times stronger than when she just crossed over. She didn't feel cold at first, but after Xiaoyao's tossing, she felt a little cold. When she came to Tangxiangju again, Qianyang saw her coming in person and hurried out to greet her. "Oh, what wind brought my sister here today? Of course there are good things I want to show you." She ordered the servants to take down the basket of vegetables from the car. "Sister, take a look, do you like it?" The cloth covering the basket was lifted, and various vegetables appeared in front of Qianyang. You know, in this season, you can never see fresh vegetables on the market. At most, they would store some cabbage and potatoes for the winter. The vegetables that Shang Ruai brought were hard to find in summer. "My dear sister, where did you find these good things?" Qianyang's eyes lit up. "What price are you going to sell these vegetables for?" "I have cooperated with Sister Qian more than once." "Sister, please give me an idea." Shang Ruai said with a smile. I believe that sister will definitely not lower my price. Qian Yang smiled. Sister, I like your thoughtfulness. How about this? 5 taels of silver for each basket of vegetables.
Shang Ruai nodded. Okay.
This time, a total of 10 baskets were brought, and Qian Yang paid 50 taels of silver. It seems that 5 taels of silver is not much, but for vegetables, it is a sky-high price. The diners looked at the baskets of fresh vegetables being moved into the kitchen, and they couldn't help asking, Shopkeeper Qian, are these vegetables for sale? Qian Yang covered her lips and chuckled. My dear guest, isn't this dish meant to be eaten? Why isn't it for sale? She said loudly. Tangxiangju will launch new dishes in the near future, and everyone is welcome to come and taste it. She turned to Shang Ruoi and said, Sister, do you have time to go upstairs with me to reminisce about the past? That's what I meant. When they reached the second floor, Qian Yang poured her a cup of tea. Try it quickly, my new tea just got is very fragrant. It's really fragrant. Shang Ruai took a sip and said with a smile, Sister, I have always had a question, and I hope you can help answer it.
Tell me about it.
Although this is a county town, it is located in the border area. Most of the land in the far north is poor. Why are there so many rich families here? Qian Yang smiled. You are new here, so you may not know that although this is a border area, it borders Shanheng in the western regions, where the products are rich and many people come here to do business. As time goes by, this place has become rich. In addition, the people here have a strong appetite, so the food business is still easy to do.
So that's it.
On the way back, Shang Ruai thought about how to make money. After all, who would complain about having too much money? She returned to the mansion and found that the room in their yard was closed, and the Yingxue sisters were standing outside the yard. Why are you here? Shang Ruai walked up and asked. My son-in-law doesn't let us in. Shang Ruai frowned, and suddenly remembered that today was the day when his poison took effect. It was not dark yet, and when it was completely dark, he would be like frozen. She walked up quickly and knocked on the door. Before she could say anything, she heard a man's cold voice from inside. Get out. It's me. Shang Ruai said softly. There was silence inside for a moment, and then his voice softened a little. What's the matter? I'll help you suppress it.
Gomain.
Shang Ruai pushed the door open and walked in. This scene was seen by Yun Tian and Yun Qi, who were standing on the big tree in the distance. Yun Qi said with a sour tone, TSK, 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 it's true that people are dying when compared to others. We have followed the master for so many years, and we were not allowed to enter when the master was poisoned. It's not long since the prince's wife got married, but she can come and go freely. Yun Tian gritted his teeth and said, I don't know what kind of magic potion she gave the prince. Yun Qi glanced at him and whispered, What do you know, you blind man? Shang Ruai walked in and found He Jingheng sitting on the couch drinking tea. His body had not yet begun to stiffen. You said you can help me suppress the ice bone poison in my body? Shang Ruai took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to him. Drink it. There was undiluted spiritual spring water in it. He Jingheng didn't doubt him and drank the water. Aren't you afraid that I will poison you? Seeing his clean and neat movements, Shang Ruai had to admit that she was pleased. If you want to poison me, you don't have to wait until now. He smiled. Besides, I have nothing now and the entire He family still needs you to support me. What's the benefit of poisoning me? It must be said that his analysis was very rational and accurate, but Shang Ruai was inexplicably irritated when she heard it. Lie down and take off your shirt. Her words made He Jingheng pause while holding the teacup. What? Take off your clothes.
Why? Just take them off when I tell you to.
Why are you talking so much nonsense? When He Jingheng saw her take out the silver needle, he realized that she was going to give him acupuncture. He took off his coat slowly, revealing his strong back. Seeing the crisscrossing knife wounds on his back, Shang Ruai immediately lost the intention to tease him. She walked forward and touched the scars unconsciously with her fingers. Does it hurt? Feeling her fingertips, the muscles on He Jingheng's back stiffened. No. A man can't even bear this little bit of hardship? His voice was very soft, but Shang Ruai inexplicably felt a little distressed. Looking at these scars, it seemed as if she could see him fighting bloody battles on the battlefield again and again. The two of them were in the room, and they didn't expect to be eavesdropped. Originally, Hee-Yuni wanted to find Shang Ruai to discuss the moves that she had not learned recently, but she unexpectedly overheard their conversation. Hiss. Take off clothes? Sister-in-law is so old now. It seems that the grandchildren that mother has been looking forward to are coming. She covered her red face and trotted out of the yard. Shang Ruai applied a few needles on the acupuncture points on his back, and He Jinghe felt a warmth flowing from his back to his organs, which was extremely comfortable. After a moment, she put away the silver needle, frowned, and said solemnly, "The ice bone poison is not so easy to cure. There is no antidote at the moment.
I can only suppress it this way every time.
If I want to really detoxify it, I need some time."
Can you cure this poison?
Shang Ruai nodded. It should be possible. She took out a knife and cut his hand. Blood gushed out instantly. Shang Ruai put it into a porcelain bottle and said lightly, "Wait until I find out what kind of poison is used to cure this icebone poison. I can help you detoxify it." She picked up the white handkerchief next to her, wiped his fingers a few times, and threw it on the bed. Her eyes fell on the two legs that were obviously different in length, and she said in a deep voice, "You can start treatment for your legs in a while."
What?
Treat the legs? He Jinghe couldn't help but be stunned. How to treat it? Your leg is injured. If you want to treat it, you need to break it and use the medicinal materials I developed to restore it to its original state. Restore it to its original state? How is this possible? Even the divine Dr. Jiang said that he could only try to look like a normal person, but Shang Ruai actually said that she could help him recover to his original state. The last silver needle was put away, and He Jinghe's consciousness disappeared in an instant, and he fell into a coma. Shang Ruai walked out of the room, and Hee-Yuni came to her again. Seeing Shang Ruai drinking tea in the yard, she walked up quickly and asked, "Sister-in-law, you are healed so soon?" Shang Ruai nodded. "What else? It's just acupuncture. How long can it take?" But in Hee-Yuni's ears, it didn't mean that. Her brother, wouldn't it be? Really not be able to do it? Sister-in-law, you have worked so hard. She forgot why she came here for a moment. The next morning, just after daybreak, He Jinghe suddenly opened his eyes, and an unprecedented sense of satisfaction appeared in his body. He hadn't slept so well for many years. Hearing the sound coming from the courtyard, he got up and walked to the window, only to see Shang Ruai doing morning exercises. Looking at her movements, a gentle and affectionate smile appeared on the corner of his lips. After the acupuncture yesterday, He Jinghe sweated a lot all over his body. The used mattress needed to be replaced. Yingxue was about to wash it when she saw a white handkerchief falling from it, with bright red bloodstains clearly printed on it.
Wait.
Qin picked up the white handkerchief on the ground, looked at the bloodstains on it, and asked a little excitedly, "Where did you get this from?" "This handkerchief is on the bed." The young lady said that the sheets are full of sweat. "You can ask me to wash it or throw it away." Qin was stunned at first, and then she was instantly delighted. The handkerchief on the bed must be blood. It seems that she has a chance to have a grandson. This realization made Qin very excited. At the table, Qin kept serving dishes to Shang Ruai. "Eat more. You are too thin. You must increase your nutrition." Shang Ruai looked at her in confusion. What happened to Qin? Why was she so enthusiastic suddenly? "Mother, you eat by yourself, don't worry about me." Shang Ruai smiled. "Please sit down quickly. Mother is not hungry, you eat more, and I will feel relieved when I see you eat well." Hee-Yuni looked at her with her eyes and nose, but smiled without saying a word. After breakfast, she was so full. After breakfast, Shang Ruai went to give Zhao Junyi acupuncture.
"Sir."
After Shang Ruai took his pulse, she smiled and said, "Judging from the recent pulse, it is much stronger than before. I believe that in a few months, your illness will be cured." "How many more months? Then can he keep his arm? Is there no other way?" "Not that there is no way." Shang Ruai said hesitantly. "What way?" "Come and listen. I have read a lot of medical books recently for your condition and found that there is a kind of herb growing in the western regions, which is of great help to your condition. Shang Ruai said nonsense seriously. Zhao Junyi heard it, and his eyes lit up. What herb? Because the medical book is old, many words have been blurred, and the specific name can no longer be seen. We only know that it is a kind of herb growing in the western regions. We definitely don't have it here. Western regions. Zhao Junyi thought for a while. Why don't you draw this herb, and I will send someone to find it. Shang Ruai laid so much groundwork just to go to the western regions in person. Why would she let him send someone to find it? Your Excellency, you may not know that herbs can only be found by people who know medicine. If you are an outsider, you may not be able to find them even if you look for them according to the painting. After all, there are so many plants in the world, and there are too many that look similar. Zhao Junyi nodded in agreement. This was indeed the truth. Then what should we do? Zhao Junyi sighed. Except for Shang Ruai, no one else could recognize this herb. Shang Ruai saw that he had no intention of giving in, so she said lightly, "Otherwise, please hold on for a few months, and this silver needle may be able to cure it." After a few months, it is only possible to cure it. This is a very frustrating thing for anyone. Otherwise, Madam Shang, why don't you go there in person? Zhao Junyi hesitated and said, "It's just that the weather is cold now, and I don't know if the herb can still grow." Shang Ruai smiled. The herb is not afraid of the cold. If I go to the western regions, I should be able to bring the herb back to you, sir.
Oh,
really? Zhao Junyi looked at her suspiciously. You don't want to take this opportunity to escape. How dare I lie to you, sir? Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Besides, I built this he mansion so well. How could I escape?" Zhao Junyi heard this and thought about it carefully, and it was indeed the case. Okay. In this case, Madam Shang, please go to the western regions to help me look for it. Zhao Junyi lowered his voice. As for this side, I will help you cover up a little. Normally speaking, exiled prisoners are absolutely not allowed to leave the place of exile, let alone go to other countries. Lord Zhao, you are too polite. She called the court doctor and taught the acupuncture points for the next few times. The court doctor looked at the extremely thick silver needles and the complicated acupuncture points and couldn't help but feel a little scared. After getting Zhao Junyi's approval, Shang Ruai began to pack her luggage and prepare to go to the western regions.
what?
Sister-in-law, you are going to the western regions? Hiyuni said enviously. Me. I want to go too. Ruai, why are you going to the western regions? Qin whispered. How dangerous. It's okay, mother. Shang Ruai brought a few cotton jackets. This trip to the western regions will take at most 10 days, and we will be back soon. Take Ah Chung with you. He Jingheng whispered. The western regions is not as peaceful as Tianshan. Shang Ruai nodded. Qin looked at the relationship between the two, which was not much stronger than before, and couldn't help wondering if she was overthinking it. How could they be like a couple? They were more like ordinary friends. The next morning, before dawn, Shang Ruai took Ah Chung and the sisters Ing Xue and Xuanmei out under the moonlight, and with the documents issued by Zhao Junyi, they successfully left the territory of Tianshan. Madam, the western region is Shanheng ahead. Ah Chung smiled and said, Shanheng is very rich, and there are many people doing business with our Tianshan. Shang Ruai nodded. Then let us stop in Shanheng, and I can dress like a young master now, so don't call me miss anymore. Okay. Ah Chung raised the whip, and the carriage galloped into Shanheng City. After entering Shanheng, Shang Ruai found an inn to stay. When the shopkeeper saw that she looked like a person from Tianshan and that she was accompanied by maids and guards, he knew that she was a wealthy person from Tianshan and walked up to her enthusiastically. Sir, do you want to have dinner or stay overnight? The third upper room. Okay. Please come into the third upper room. The shopkeeper was from Tianshan, and he felt particularly friendly when he saw Shang Ruai and the others. Sir, when are we going to look for medicinal herbs? Ing Xue asked.
No need to look for them.
Shang Ruai smiled and said, We are not actually going to look for medicinal herbs on this trip. She looked at Ah Cheng's look of understanding and knew that He Jingheng must have told him about it early in the morning.
Ah Cheng.
I'm here. Shang Ruoyi's eyes locked on him. Who is your master? Ah Chung was shocked. He naturally knew what Shang Ruoyi meant by this sentence, and hurriedly said, Of course, it's the young master. Shang Ruoyi nodded. In that case, do you know what to say and what not to say? I know. Please rest assured, young master. Ah Chung looked at Shang Ruoyi and was slightly surprised. She knew from the beginning that she was the prince's person. The next day, Shang Ruoyi dressed up as a man, holding a folding fan in her hand, looking like a handsome young man. Walking on the street, many girls stopped to watch. The customs of the western regions are open-minded, and some girls even ask their maids to come forward and ask her which mansion she was from. Ying Xue, who was following behind, said softly, As expected of a young master, even dressed like this, he still attracts people's attention. Xuanmei nodded and said, I think if our young master didn't look so cold and arrogant, those girls would come over to talk to him. As soon as she finished speaking, a girl came over gracefully and stood beside Shang Ruoyi. May I ask your name, young master? Her little face was flushed, and she stood opposite Shang Ruoyi with a shy look. Shang Ruoyi looked at her and said coldly, What does it have to do with you? The woman didn't expect that she would have such an attitude. She was stunned for a moment and asked in disbelief, What did you say? You know, she is the daughter of the mayor of Shanheng City. Normally, others can't curry favor with her, but the person in front of her actually treats her like this. I say, what does it have to do with you? Shang Ruoyi looked coldly at the shocked woman in front of her, glanced at her, and then retracted her gaze. She just saw clearly that the maid behind her was just a step slower and was slapped hard by her. Now one side of her face is still swollen. She naturally disdains to pay attention to such people who rely on their good family background to be domineering and arrogant. The woman clenched her fists and said angrily, Do you know who you are talking to? Who do you talk to? Shang Ruoyi sneered. This young master is least afraid of threats. You. She stretched out her index finger and pointed at the tip of her nose. Just wait for me. Shang Ruoyi looked at the finger that was about to be stuck on the tip of her nose, and her eyes suddenly turned cold, making people feel as if they were falling into an ice cellar. If you don't know where to put your hands, why don't I find a place for you? As soon as she finished speaking, the woman immediately retracted her fingers. You. How dare you be so disrespectful to this young lady? I will make my father punish you. Shang Ruoyi smiled. Miss, I just don't want to reveal my name. What crime have I committed? Humph. Now that you are in my territory, I say you are guilty. Even if you are innocent, you are guilty. She smiled complacently. This young lady is the daughter of the city, lord of Shanheng City. You have offended me, and you still want to stay here? Dream on. The daughter of the city lord? Shang Ruoyi looked at her coldly. The mayor's daughter, so what? You. She had introduced herself, but she still received a dismissive reply. Just wait for me. She left angrily. She thought she would be able to have some peace and quiet after leaving, but a man suddenly walked up to her with a smile on his face. Young brother, be careful. That girl is not easy to mess with. Shang Ruoyi smiled. Thank you for your reminder, sir. She turned around and was about to leave, but was stopped again. At this point, her patience had run out. She couldn't help but secretly elbowed him, thinking that she didn't check the almanac before going out today. Was it not suitable to go out? Why were there so many stumbling blocks? Anything else? Ling Feng looked at the man who had lost all patience, smiled and said, I see you look like a newcomer. I have lived here for many years. If you need any help, feel free to come to me. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly heard a loud shout from behind. He's there. Ling Feng was startled when he heard this, and hurried forward, shouting as he ran. I'm at Fulian.
Fulian.
What a coincidence. I also live there. This episode was quickly forgotten by Shang Ruoyi. After asking around, she came to a ranch. This was also the purpose of her trip, to buy cows. To Shang Ruoyi's surprise, the owner of this ranch was actually from Tianshan. What do you want to buy, sir? Do you have cows for sale? Shang Ruoyi smiled and said, for sale. The man said enthusiastically, How many do you want, sir? Shang Ruoyi held up 3 fingers. 3? He smiled. 3 was already a lot. At 15 taels of silver per head, 3 could be sold for 45 taels. If the deal was done, he would be rich today. Just as he was feeling proud of the 3 cows, Zhang Ruai said calmly, 30. How much more? 30? Sir, you're not kidding me, are you? He said excitedly, really 30? Zhang Ruai nodded. If your cows are good, I will buy more later. The man was overjoyed when he heard this. How could this be a young master? He was simply the god of wealth. Zhang Ruai looked at the cows grazing leisurely in the pasture, as if she saw a mountain of gold and silver. In the end, she bought 30 cows for 420 taels. It was easy to buy, but it was extremely difficult to bring them back to Tianshan. Livestock were not allowed to pass through customs. Ah Chung came over and said, Sir, how are you going to take these cows back? Zhang Ruai smiled and said, Of course I have a way. In her space, not to mention 30 cows, even 300 or 3,000 can be accommodated. She whispered a few words in the rancher's ear. Okay, sir. Although the rancher was not happy with her, the request felt a bit strange, but he had to agree to the guest's request. Zhang Ruai paid the silver and left, leaving Ah Chung and the others stunned. Sir, are we going to take those cows with us? Ing Shua asked, puzzled. Take? Take where? Zhang Ruai smiled. A few of us, taking 30 cows to the market? Several people imagined this scene and found it a bit scary. Someone will help us take the cows to Tianshan. At this moment, a slightly familiar figure appeared in front of her. He was sweating all over and his face was flushed. Even though the weather was cold now, there were still beads of sweat on his head. Help! Help! At this moment, the pursuers behind him had arrived. Zhang Ruai was not familiar with this place, and she didn't want to meddle in other people's business. However, when the group of people ran past her to catch people, one of them knocked Xuanmei to the ground, and another man stepped her white shoe surface. TSK. Zhang Ruai frowned, and there was a hint of anger in her heart.
Wait,
she said lightly. However, none of the people who ran over paid any attention to her. She waved her hand lightly, and Ah Ching shot out and stood in front of those people. My young master asked you to wait, didn't you hear me? Those people were blocked and said coldly, Get out of the way. Ah Chung looked at them. Although he was outnumbered, there was no fear in his eyes. My young master asked you to wait. Who is your young master? Is he worthy of making us wait? That's right. Get out of the way now. If you delay my business, I will beat up the young master you mentioned. A burly man said, And you? You look as thin as a chicken. I guess you can't even take a punch from me. You Tianshan people are trash. I heard that your Tianshuan's god of war general is called something? What's the name of He Jing? Even he is a useless person, and you still want to show off here with us?
bah.
Ah Cheng's pupils shrank, and just as he was about to take action, he heard Zhang Ruai's voice. Really? Zhang Ruai walked closer, with a sneer on her lips. Do you want to try? She walked step by step to the front of those people. Her eyes were full of coldness, looked at the black footprints on the back of her shoes, and curled her lips. You dirty my shoes, and said rude things. Either apologize or... She set her eyes on them. Choose a way to die. Those people looked at her frail appearance and couldn't help but burst into laughter. You're not afraid of being blown away by the strong wind when you say that. A man walked up to Zhang Ruai, raised his hand and hit her face. Today I'll let you know what it means to be careful with your words and actions. As he spoke, his hand was about to hit Zhang Ruai's face. The onlookers couldn't help but let out bursts of exclamations, lamenting that such a handsome face was about to be broken. Zhang Ruai slowly stretched out her hands and held the man's arm. No matter how hard the man tried, the hand was tightly held and couldn't be shaken at all. At this moment, Zhang Ruai slowly exerted force, and the man's face was as red as a pig's liver, and a wailing sound came out of his mouth. Ah, it hurts. It hurts. Zhang Ruai's face did not change, and the strength of her hand did not decrease at all. The man felt that if he continued to be held like this, his hand would be useless. Seeing this, others rushed over to help. Before they could get close, Ah Chung stepped forward and stopped them. Compared with these burly men, Ah Chung was indeed thin, but these men were all fat and big-eared. They looked strong, but in fact they were all silver-plated guns, good-looking but useless. Ah Chung flew up and kicked the men to the ground in no time. For a moment, the whole street was quiet, with only the cries of ouch, ouch from the men echoing. Young master, hero. The man who was held in Shang Ruai's hand was about to cry out in pain. Ancestor, please show mercy, and let us go. We won't dare to do it again. Shang Ruai sneered. I hate people like you who bully the weak and fear the strong, and look down on others the most. At this moment, a middle-aged man came forward and bowed to Shang Ruai and said, Young master, I am Qian Jinyan, the owner of Tianyun Casino. Shang Ruai turned around and glanced at him indifferently. I wonder what can I do for you, Manager Qian? Qian Jinyan smiled and said, I wonder why these useless people under my command offended you, young master? Just speak up, and I will definitely punish them severely. So, it was Manager Qian's people. Shang Ruai smiled and exerted force. With a click, the man's wrist was broken, and his screams echoed on the street for a long time. Shang Ruai finally let go, took out a handkerchief to wipe her hands, and a smile appeared on the corner of her lips. It's not a big deal. It's just that these people don't know the rules, and what they say is really unpleasant. My subordinates don't know the rules. I'm sorry to make you laugh. Manager Qian's face did not change, and he bowed his hands and said, Our boss admires you very much and would like to invite you to come over and have a chat. By the way, there is an acquaintance who may be of interest to you. Shang Ruai raised her eyebrows. Acquaintance? When did she have an acquaintance in this western region? At this time, Ah Chung walked to her side and whispered, Sir, this Tianyun Casino is the largest casino in the entire western region. It is rumored that this boss is very mysterious. So that's it. No wonder the owner of a casino seems to be very cunning. In this case, please lead the way, Manager Qian. Please. The man lying on the ground looked at the direction she left with a face full of resentment, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his lips. Once you enter their casino, don't expect to come out in one piece. Shang Ruai came to the most prosperous street and came to a luxurious building. A huge plaque Tianyun Casino was hung on it. Shang Ruai looked at the plaque and smiled. You are really willing to spend money. I saw that the plaque is made of gold. Young master, you have good eyesight. Shopkeeper Qian made a gesture of invitation. Young master, please come in. Shang Ruai walked into the casino and saw that the huge main hall was full of people, surrounding hundreds of gambling tables with red faces. Sometimes there was laughter from winning the bet, and sometimes there were bursts of curses, which must be the loss of the bet. Such a scene would make people's blood boil just by looking at it, and they would want to have a try immediately. Sir, do you know how to gamble? Shang Ruai shook her head and smiled. My father is strict, and anyone who gambles will be punished. The two came to the third floor, and shopkeeper Qian took her to a door and whispered, Sir, please wait a moment. After that, he walked into the room. After a while, shopkeeper Qian came out and said with a smile, Sir, please come in. After that, he stretched out his hand to stop the three people standing behind her. Sir, please wait outside. But it doesn't matter. Shang Ruai smiled. The owner of this gambling house invited me in public, so there should be no malice. Shang Ruai followed shopkeeper Qian into the room. Unlike the noise outside, the shouting outside disappeared the moment she walked in here. The room was lit with a faint sandalwood scent. In the middle of the room, several dancers were dancing, and on the high platform, a middle-aged man wearing half a mask was drinking. Seeing Shang Ruai coming in, his eyes did not change at all. He just said lightly, You are the one who hurt my people? Yes. You are so straightforward. The man sat up straight, waved his hand, and the dancers retreated. I wonder why you asked me to come here? The man smiled and said, You beat my people in public, which means you don't take our casino seriously. Tell me, why did I ask you to come here? I see. She looked around, found a chair, and sat down casually, and said casually, I didn't expect that the owner of such a big casino would be so narrow-minded. I overestimated you. Huh, it's just a joke. Why do you take it seriously? He smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes at all. I wonder if you know how to gamble? My father is strict and doesn't let me get involved.
Ha, take the dice.
He whispered. Only people with good gambling skills would say that. Shang Ruai smiled and said nothing. She really didn't like gambling and never got involved, but this did not affect her ability to master the skill of gambling. Soon, the servants brought 2 sets of dice. The man made a gesture of invitation, letting Shang Ruai choose first. What do you mean, sir? Shang Ruai said coldly. Young master, you hurt my people, which is like slapping me in the face in public. I, Lu Mingzhou, am also a well-known figure in the western regions, and I have to save my face. If you beat me today, our grievances will be written off, and I will give you all the profits of our gambling house today. But if you lose, your friend's life will belong to me. Friend? Shang Ruai was stunned. Where did she get a friend? At this time, Ling Feng was and pushed in by several men. Shang Ruai frowned. Why is it him? If you lose, I want his life. Shang Ruai curled her lips when she heard that. She sat opposite him indifferently, picked up a dice cup, smiled and said, In this case, it doesn't matter if I lose today. I don't know him. When Ling Feng heard that, he became anxious. You don't know him. We talked a few hours ago. Does talking mean you know him? Shang Ruai glanced at him. What's my name? You. Ling Feng was choked for a moment. He really didn't know her name. Lu Mingzhou raised his eyebrows and said, It's okay. Let's use his life as one of the bets. After all, such a bet is more interesting. Shang Ruai's fingertips curled slightly, but there was no change on her face. She just nodded and said, You are welcome. Since the young master said that he doesn't understand gambling, then we can use the simplest comparison of size and decide the winner in one round. How about it? Shang Ruai shook the dice cup in her hand and nodded, Okay. Then whoever has the highest score wins this round. After saying that, Lu Mingzhou held the 3 dice and shook them in his hand. Shang Ruai slowly picked up the dice cup, shook it a few times casually, and put it on the table. Seeing this, Lu Mingzhou smiled and opened the lid. He saw 3 dice, each with 6 points. What a coincidence, 18 points. Seeing this, Ling Feng's face turned pale. It's over. 18 points is the highest. I'm afraid my life will really be over. Shang Ruai reached out and opened the lid, only to see the 3 dice standing in a strange shape in the dice cup. Hiss. Each of the 3 dice was touching the ground with its tip. Shang Ruai smiled and looked at Qian Jinyan and said, Please count. Manager Qian, how many points do I have?
This.
Manager Qian was a little confused for a moment, as this was the first time he had seen dice in this shape. At this moment, Lu Mingzhou waved his hand. No need. You win this game. Thank you. Lu Mingzhou looked at her for a long while. May I know your name? Senior, you are too polite. I am Ling Jun. Shang Ruai made up a name. Lu Mingzhou waved his hand, and someone untied the rope that was tied to Ling Feng. A gentleman's word is as good as his bond. I will do what I promised you, young master. From now on, all the grudges between you and me will be written off. After he finished speaking, shopkeeper Qian stepped forward, took out a 5,000 tael silver note, and handed it to her. This is the casino's profit today, and it all belongs to you, young master. Shang Ruai took the silver note in her hand, smiled, and said, Thank you very much. Lu Mingzhou stood upstairs, watching Shang Ruai's back as she left, and murmured, I didn't expect that I would lose to a little girl today. Girl? Shopkeeper Qian was shocked. Master, do you mean that the Ling Jun just now is a girl? I guess the name Ling Jun was just something she came up with to fool me. Lu Mingzhou's eyes were rarely filled with a smile. It's really interesting. Ling Feng followed her out of the casino and said with a smile, Thank you very much, Brother Ling Jun, for saving my life today. Shang Ruai glanced at him and walked forward quickly. Seeing that she had not stopped, he was about to catch up with her, but was stopped by Ah Cheng. Stay away from my young master. Ling Feng smacked his lips and had to follow slowly. After walking for a while, Ah Chung saw that he still hadn't left and couldn't help but ask coldly, "Why are you following us?" Hearing this, Ling Feng shouted, "Who followed you? I'm going back to the inn." The next morning, Shang Ruai was about to go out when she heard a noisy sound downstairs. What happened? She opened the door and saw a woman holding a child in her arms and crying loudly. The people watching nearby kept shaking their heads.
How could a healthy child die?
This seems to be the wife of the Chiao family. The one who just died is the young master of the Chiao family?
Wow.
The Chiao family has been waiting for so many years to have such a unique child. Tut tut tut. It looks like he was poisoned to death. Chiao family? At this moment, Ah Chung came over and whispered, "The Chiao family is the largest family in Shanghai. More than half of the industries here belong to the Chiao family. So that's it." At this moment, Shang Ruai found that the child's hand moved slightly. She pushed through the crowd, stepped forward quickly, and whispered, "Madam, your son is not dead yet." The lady was stunned for a moment and hurriedly said, "Really?" Shang Ruai laid the child flat on the ground, took the pulse, and whispered, "He is still breathing." As soon as she finished speaking, Ingxue handed over the medicine box. Shang Ruai took out the silver needle and was about to stab it when she heard the woman next to her trembling and said, "Is the young master a doctor?"
Yes.
Shang Ruai inserted several silver needles into the boy's body. Then he heard people around him say, "Such a young doctor? I've never heard of it. A child, still pretending to be a doctor here? Madam Chiao, don't be fooled by her. Now, anyone dares to claim to be a doctor. The young master is precious. Don't let her treat him badly." That's right. Don't be a charlatan. In order to cheat you of some gold and silver, he uses the young master's body to perform rituals here. Shang Ruai snorted coldly. "Are all your mouths used to stir up trouble and confuse right and wrong? We are also doing this for Madame Chiao's good." For Madame Chiao's good? She couldn't help but sneer. "In that case, why don't you help invite a doctor over? Instead, you keep making sarcastic remarks here?" At this time, she had already inserted 7 needles into the boy. Shang Ruai didn't look up, but said coldly, "If your mouth has only this function, it's better not to use it." After she finished speaking, the last silver needle fell, and she gently flicked the end of the needle, only to see that the silver needles actually shook strangely. Many people were amazed. The people who had just been making sarcastic remarks shut up when they saw this miraculous scene. At this time, the boy's face had returned to normal, no longer as blue as before. Shang Ruai stabbed the boy's index finger, and a stream of black blood suddenly spurted out and fell to the ground, emitting a fishy smell. "This is..." Madame Chiao asked softly, "What is this?" "This is the culprit that almost caused your young master to die." Shang Ruai said softly, "Your young master was poisoned and not poisoned." "What do you mean, sir?" "Forgive my stupidity, and I don't understand what you mean. This thing is poison, but it was not given by others. It was brought by the young master from his mother's." She pointed to the still unconscious boy and said, "He must have been sick all the time when he was young." "That's right. Basically, he needs to take decoctions every day, and he has to ask the court doctor to see him every few days." Madame Chiao clutched the handkerchief tightly. "The young master is really a miracle doctor. He can even see these." At this moment, a woman in the crowd said, "You just said that we only know how to stir up trouble. Then why hasn't young Master Chiao woken up yet?" Shang Ruai glanced at her, but didn't answer. The woman thought she had found her weak spot, and curled her lips and said, "Humph, I told you. She's a liar. She's a doctor. She's really good at flattering herself." As soon as she finished speaking, she saw young Master Chiao's eyelashes move slightly. After a while, his fingers also lifted up. It moved. It moved. The onlookers shouted, "It really moved." Mrs. Chiao saw this, and a look of joy appeared on her face. You're... Not long after, the boy slowly opened his eyes and said in a daze, "Mom, what happened just now?" Mrs. Chiao hugged him in her arms and cried with joy, "That's great. It's so great that you're okay." She turned to look at Shang Ruai. Thank you very much for your help, young master. My Qiao family will reward you handsomely for such a great favor. Shang Ruai smiled. It's just a small favor. May I ask your name, young master? My Qiao family also wants to know who your benefactor is. My name is Ling Jun. Shang Ruai stood up, took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to her. Young master, take 1 pill a day for 6 months, and you will be completely cured. Completely cured? Mrs. Qiao was shocked. The Qiao family was extremely wealthy, and the doctors who treated Qiao Yu were all hired at great expense. Among them were experienced doctors, including Dr. Jiang, who was known as the best doctor in the world. Although there was some improvement after they were invited, it was still only a temporary solution. Now, this young master named Lingjun actually said that he could make her son heal. She smiled and said, "If the young master keeps his word, I will give him 10,000 taels of gold and thousands of acres of fertile land." Hiss. Hearing Mrs. Qiao's words, the onlookers couldn't help but gasp. What kind of overwhelming wealth is this? Okay. As soon as Shang Ruai finished speaking, she heard disdainful sneers from the crowd. What kind of miracle doctor? Isn't it for the gold and silver? I thought he was some otherworldly master. Shang Ruai sneered. Come on, come out. She pointed to a thin and small man with shifty eyes in the crowd and said, "What's wrong with a miracle doctor? Don't you need to eat? He is a miracle doctor, not a god. Look at yourself. You are dressed in rags, you have nothing, and you still have the nerve to talk about others here. You are poor and destitute, so everyone should eat coarse food with you? Who do you think you are?" Shang Ruai's rapid-fire words left the man speechless. He turned around and left with a red face. Madame Qiao stepped forward, took out a stack of banknotes and put them in her hand. "Young master, I was in a hurry to go out today, and I only brought 500 taels with me. You take it first, and I will ask the servant to go back to get the silver." Shang Ruai smiled and took out 300 taels from it. There are a total of 15 pills in it, 20 taels each, a total of 300 taels. As for the consultation fee, forget it. Madame Qiao was stunned. Just 300 taels? I never charge an extra consultation fee for treating patients. Shang Ruai took out a pen and paper and wrote an address. For the pills at the back, please send someone to pick them up here. Madame Qiao took the note and was stunned for a moment. Isn't this Tianxuan's place of exile? At this moment, a laugh came from the door. "Madame Qiao, how are you?" An old man walked in slowly, with a young woman. "Divine, Dr. Jiang." Mrs. Qiao said with a smile, "I didn't expect to meet you here. I went to Tianshan Qingzhou to treat a patient, and I came to see your young master on the way." Her eyes fell on Qiao Yu, who looked normal, and she was stunned for a moment. This child could actually live until now. When he treated him 2 years ago, he knew that the child's life would not be too long. Only 2 years at most, but when he saw him today, there was no sign of weakness. "It seems that my treatment is very effective for your young master. The young master looks radiant and almost recovered." Hiss. The onlookers heard it and couldn't help but take a breath. This is more shocking than seeing the young Master Qiao wake up with their own eyes. Who doesn't know the famous divine Dr. Jiang? If he can make him say that he is almost cured, it must be true. The patient that divine Dr. Jiang couldn't cure was actually cured by the young man in front of him. Could it be that this young man's medical skills are better than his? Mrs. Qiao didn't say anything, just smiled. Dr. Jiang saw that Madame Qiao's attitude was not warm, and his face was a little unhappy. At this time, he glanced at Madame Qiao holding a porcelain bottle in her hand. "Madam, are you feeling unwell?"
No.
Madame Qiao smiled and said, "These are the pills that this little doctor gave to my son." "Little doctor?" Dr. Jiang frowned. Someone actually dared to call himself a doctor in front of him. He set his eyes on Shang Ruai, his eyes full of coldness. "I wonder who is this little brother's master? My master lives in seclusion and doesn't like to be disturbed by outsiders, so I won't tell you his name." At this time, Jiang En'er, who was standing next to Dr. Jiang, sneered and said, "Don't you want to tell me, or don't dare? The person who comes has bad intentions." Shang Ruai said in a deep voice. Young lady, are you being mean-spirited? Upon hearing this, the smile on Jiang En'er's face instantly disappeared. Say it again. Isn't it? Shang Ruai sneered. Is your master the best in the world? You must remember that there are always people better than you. Dr. Jiang looked at her unkindly. Brother, do you think you look down on me when you say that? It turns out that a master will teach like disciples. Shang Ruai sneered. Senior, you worry too much. I don't reveal the name of my master because I abide by his teachings. I don't know how I have offended you too. In other words, what does it have to do with you whether I say it or not? Jiang En'er glanced at her. My father finally cured young Master Chiao. You don't know how much effort he put in and how long he worked without sleep. If you take the medicine you got from who knows where, can you bear the responsibility? Jiang En'er looked at the porcelain bottle in Mrs. Chiao's hand with contempt and snorted. There are so many swindlers in the world now. Mrs. Chiao should not take advantage of small gains and suffer big losses. Every time Jiang En'er said a word, the faces of the onlookers became more funny. The person who Jiang Shini had used so much effort to cure was cured by this little Shini doctor named Ling Jun with only one silver needle. The gap is too big. For a while, they all looked at Shang Ruai with fiery eyes. Shini. This is the real Shini doctor. When Mrs. Chiao heard this, the look on her face was also very wonderful. You know, how much effort and money their Chiao family had spent to invite Shini Jiang. In the end, he was cured by a few needles from others. Jiang En'er's original intention was to let Mrs. Chiao know how hard her father worked to save her son, but she didn't expect that her cleverness backfired. Shang Ruai smiled and said, Thank you for your hard work, Dr. Jiang. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone around her laughed softly. Jiang En'er didn't understand and said angrily, What are you laughing at? Shang Ruai had a faint smile on her face. Nothing. At this time, the onlookers couldn't help but laugh and said, You said that Dr. Jiang spent a lot of effort to save young Master Chiao, but this little doctor only used a silver needle to cure the young master. What? Dr. Jiang's face turned pale and his brows were furrowed. How is this possible? The toxins in the body of the young master of the Chiao family were brought from his mother's. It was not easy for him to survive, so how could he be cured? He said to Madame Chiao, Is it true? Madame Chiao nodded. Thanks to this young doctor. Otherwise Yua would be in danger today. Hearing what Madame Chiao said, Jiang En'er said in disbelief, How is it possible? He is so young. How could he be better than my father in medicine? Madame Chiao, don't be fooled by her. Madame Chiao's face turned cold when she heard this. Miss Jiang, I will not be easily deceived. Please be careful with your words and actions. Jiang En'er's face turned pale, and she said no more. Dr. Jiang's tone was slightly deep. Madame Chiao, can you let me take a look at the pills in the porcelain bottle? Madame Chiao looked at Shang Ruai, and when she nodded, she handed the porcelain bottle in her hand over. This subtle action fell into the eyes of Dr. Jiang, making his face even uglier. He took the porcelain bottle and poured out a pill. He put it under his nose and smelled it, and couldn't help but be surprised. Looking at Shang Ruai in disbelief. Did this pill really come from you? Dr. Jiang's actions, in the eyes of everyone, undoubtedly confirmed the magical effect of this pill. Of course. Several of these medicinal materials are over 100 years old. Where did you get them from? 100 years. Just now they thought that 20 taels per pill was a bit too expensive, but now it seems that they were too short-sighted. They dared not even think about how much silver a 100-year-old medicinal material would sell for on the market. People made it into pills and only sold it for 20 taels. How could it be expensive? However, it seemed a bit too much for Dr. Jiang to ask about the origin of the medicinal materials. Who would tell others such things? Dr. Jiang, I'm sorry that I can't tell you such confidential matters. Dr. Jiang also knew that he was a bit abrupt and smiled awkwardly. It's really rare, and I'm a little anxious. Seeing that he couldn't get any information, and Mrs. Chiao didn't look good to them, Dr. Jiang said goodbye and left. Dad, are we just going to let that guy leave like this? Jiang En'er said coldly. We lost such a big man. All because of him. The warm smile on Jiang Shini's face disappeared, and he said coldly, "Humph, I've been walking in the world for decades, and this is the first time I have met such an elder who has no sense of propriety. How could he allow someone to ride on his head? Dad, Prince Shun asked you to go and treat his illness that day. You can't let him know that there is such a big man." Jiang Anur said coldly, "If my daughter can't marry He Jingheng, she will have to marry someone who holds the power of life and death. By then, won't He Jingheng's life be in my hands? My daughter can do whatever she wants to him." Hearing this, Jiang Shini sighed. "Anur, Dad doesn't want you to enter the palace. It's too difficult to survive there. He is such a daughter, so naturally he hopes that she can find a satisfactory husband and love each other for life." Jiang Anur shook her head firmly. "If my daughter cannot marry He Jingheng, it doesn't matter who she marries. Why not marry a powerful man? Then I will be the one above everyone else." Dr. Jiang looked at this daughter, who looked like his beloved wife, and shook his head silently. This child is exactly like her mother. She has made a decision, and will not change it no matter who says it. After seeing off Mrs. Chiao, Shang Ruai went to Shan Heng's famous ghost market according to the original itinerary. Ah Chung and Ing Shuesun may wanted to follow, but were rejected by Shang Ruai. Entering the ghost market, Shang Ruai noticed that someone was following her. She curled her lips slightly. Who was that blind person again? She walked forward a few steps quickly, and when she saw that there was no one around, she went directly into the space. Not long after, two big men came to the place where she disappeared. Where did they go? They were clearly running here just now. How come they disappeared? Did they see a ghost? At this moment, a sinister laugh suddenly came from behind, and then a woman's voice came. "Didn't you see a ghost?"
"Ah, ghost."
The two grown men didn't even turn their heads back and ran faster than rabbits. Shang Ruai walked out of the space, clapped her hands, and snorted coldly. "Dare to follow me? Scare you to death." Seeing that the two people had disappeared, she turned and walked in another direction. After going around and around, she came to a dilapidated yard. There were several mooing sounds coming from the yard. She looked at the note that was stuffed into her hand when she entered the ghost market just now, and compared it with the door plate. This was the right place. She pushed the door open, and what came into her sight were the 30 cows she had bought earlier. After confirming that there was no one around, she put the cows into the space. The next step was to think about how to bring these cows into Tianshan reasonably. After the two people ran out of the ghost market, they went straight to Tianyan Casino. Seeing them panting, Qian, the shopkeeper, looked behind them and frowned. "Where is the person the boss asked you to invite?" One of the men said, "No. Didn't invite her. She disappeared." Disappeared? How is this possible? The incident at Fulian had spread everywhere. The young Dr. Lingjun cured the young master of the Qiao family with just one silver needle. Another man recounted what had just happened. "Shopkeeper, she is not a human at all. She is a ghost." He touched his neck and said with lingering fear, "I can feel the water on my neck. It must be the saliva of the female ghost. She covets my body so." Before he could finish, he heard a sneer from the door. "Female ghost? Covet your body?" Shang Ruai glanced at him. "Why don't you take A and look at your own virtues to see if you are worthy of being coveted?" The two men almost peed their pants when they heard her voice.
"Ghost."
That was the voice just now. When shopkeeper Qian saw her coming in, he walked forward with a smile. "Little Dr. Ling, I'm sorry for not welcoming you. Please come in quickly. Our boss has been waiting for you for a long time." Shang Ruai smiled. "Your boss's way of inviting people is really special. My subordinates are ignorant. Please don't be offended." Shopkeeper Qian made a gesture of invitation. "Master Ling, please come in. Your boss is looking for me, and I happen to have a business deal to discuss with him." Shopkeeper Qian brought her into the room of yesterday's lady, and a faint fragrance of tea came from the room. Lu Mingzhou was originally sitting on a chair. When he saw her come in, he stood up and greeted her with a smile. "Little Dr. Lingjun, how are you?" Shang Ruai smiled. "To be honest, I haven't seen you for only 12 hours. You don't have to be so polite. Ha ha ha, little brother Lingjun is really straightforward. Lu Mingzhou had a smile on his face. I heard that you saved the young master of the Qiao family in the inn, so I sent my men to find you. I really have something to ask for. Guessing that it was because of this, Shang Ruo's face did not show any surprise. She just took a sip of the tea that the maid had just handed over and couldn't help sighing. Good tea. It's really good tea. Haha, it's rare that little brother likes it. He winked at shopkeeper Qian, who was standing next to him, and shopkeeper Qian understood and went down to prepare it immediately. Shang Ruoi put down the teacup, smiled, and said, "If you have anything to say, please tell me directly." "It's my daughter." Lu Mingzhou sighed and said, "My daughter's situation is very similar to that of the young master of the Qiao family. She has been in poor health since she was a child, and it has been getting worse in recent years. She has seen many doctors, and they all said that the disease was brought from the—" Shang Ruoi understood. "You want me to treat your woman?" "That's right." Shang Ruoi nodded. "I can treat the disease, but everyone's physical condition is different. Even if they have the same disease, the severity will vary. So whether it can be cured or not, I have to wait until I personally take her pulse to know." Lu Mingzhou nodded. "In that case, then I'll trouble you, little brother. As long as it can be cured, just ask for whatever you need." Shang Ruoi smiled and said, "I really need your help with something. Whatever it is, just ask. I need you to help me transport a batch of dairy cows to Qingshe town in Tianshan in a reasonable and legal manner." Lu Mingzhou had an indifferent smile on his face.